I'll need some time to think it over, Michael replied after a moment of contemplation. Of course, Olivia said as she closed the PowerPoint presentation. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to ask me for clarification. All right, Michael agreed. He found Olivia's presentation and proposal to be highly detailed. At that moment, Michael's phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID and rose from his seat, stepping out of Olivia's bedroom to answer the call. Hello? Sir. Ansel's voice came through, sounding rather grave. There's another irregularity in the company's accounts. Michael's brows furrowed, and his throat tightened as he asked, How much? $10 million, Ansel responded. Michael's heart was filled with a complex mix of emotions. They shared a familial bond. Was it truly necessary to be this ruthless? Blood was thicker than water, after all. Sir, what should we do? Ansel voiced his concerns. If the situation persisted, it could have dire consequences for the company's operations. Don't worry about it, Michael replied with a sense of disappointment in his voice. Let it go. He had initially believed that the London branch of his company might need assistance, so he was okay seeing some of the money move from his account to that branch. But the pace at which funds were being misappropriated was more astonishing than he had anticipated. He couldn't deceive himself any longer. Michael felt deeply disheartened. But, Ansel hesitated. The repercussions could be unimaginable if this continued. There are no buts, Michael declared, taking a deep breath. Ansel transferred $10 million to Olivia's account. He had been indecisive, but now he made up his mind. He couldn't predict what the future held, so he needed to prepare for all eventualities. At the very least, he had to assist his daughter while he still could. Ansel was taken aback. $10 million? This was actually a greater amount than Olivia had asked about for financial management earlier. Her gaming studio needs the funds, Michael explained. Oh, Ansel comprehended. Olivia hadn't sought his advice on financial management. She'd been asking for his assistance. He wondered whether $10 million was an appropriate amount or too much. That must have been why she had called him. Ansel found himself amused and exasperated at being outsmarted by a young girl despite his decades of experience in the industry. That's settled, Michael stated after hanging up the phone and returning to Olivia's room. Once Michael had left, Olivia began organizing her computer files. She had accumulated numerous documents recently, some related to game development and others to her personal plan. It was all a bit of a jumble, and if she didn't organize it now, things would only get more chaotic as she accumulated more files. When she saw Michael return, she greeted him from her computer screen. Dad, have you finished your work? Yes, Michael replied. Olivia, I've made a decision. What decision? Olivia looked at Michael through the computer screen. I am willing to invest $10 million in your gaming company. Go ahead and do what you need with it, Michael declared. Really? Olivia momentarily paused, taken aback by the speed of his agreement. She had been prepared to persuade him further, but he had accepted her proposal so readily. Yes, Michael confirmed with a nod. As soon as he finished speaking, Olivia's phone received a text message informing her of the transfer of money into her bank account. Thank you, Dad, Olivia said, winking at Michael. From now on, you're the largest shareholder in our gaming studio. How does that feel? Not bad, Michael replied, attempting to appear relaxed. Unfortunately, his acting skills were lacking. Although he had a smile on his face, the worry etched into his brow remained. His heart ached. Olivia noticed this and read his mind, but didn't comment. She could sense that something was amiss. It seemed that her rebirth had thrown a wrench into the works. Bruno was likely feeling apprehensive, and perhaps Grandpa Jack was in a similar state of panic ever since she returned. And it seemed that as Olivia started thriving in this life, her grandpa and uncle's actions had accelerated in this life too. But they seemed to have overlooked one crucial aspect, her father's feelings. Or maybe they had deliberately ignored it, or truly never considered them. Observing the melancholic expression on Michael's face, Olivia made a silent resolution. She needed to find a way to resolve this situation promptly. Ideally, she would help Michael extricate himself from this family, giving him back some of his agency and dignity. Olivia had a hectic summer, preparing for her senior year and attending supplementary tutor lessons with Vera. She also had to collaborate with Francis on their new video game's research and development. The new game was scheduled for production in the fall semester, so there were numerous research, development, and overall arrangements to be made before school started. She felt the strain of the work, especially since large-scale online games were much more complex than single-player ones. Many aspects required thorough attention, and even Millie, who handled the computing work, encountered difficulties. The required investment for this game exceeded their initial estimates, posing a significant challenge, primarily due to the shortage of staff. Apart from the core team members, they had to seek a reliable outsourcing company for additional support. However, the main challenge lies in the scarcity of talent rather than manpower. The new game faced unprecedented dilemmas and obstacles during its early development stages, and this predicament persisted even as Olivia began her final year of high school. Before the year began, the success of their first mobile game drew considerable attention from fellow students, many of whom viewed the video game studio as a stepping stone in the competitive world of resumes. As the school year approached, Olivia was inundated with various messages from peers asking to join the company, causing her temples to throb painfully. Sam Feinstein, observing the popularity of the gaming company up close as Olivia's human resources manager, marveled at the situation. In just 3 days, he had rejected over 40 students who sought to join the studio. Politely declining was no easy task, especially considering the potential for strained relationships. Sam Feinstein's remarkable emotional intelligence helped him handle these rejections diplomatically. Although the students were disappointed, they generally maintained their composure. Olivia, however, was preoccupied with her thoughts. These past 3 days felt like an eternity, with no progress in the game's development. She feared her brain cells were on the verge of exhaustion. Millie placed a can of strong coffee in front of Olivia, noting her heavy dark circles. "You didn't sleep well last night, did you?" "Nope, and thank you," Olivia replied as she opened the coffee and took a sip. "I feel much better with caffeine coursing through me." It wasn't that she didn't want to sleep. She simply couldn't. Perhaps the pressure she placed on herself was too great, or perhaps her talent didn't match her expectations. This deadlock left her feeling utterly helpless. "Hey, Liv, you gotta value your life, okay?" Millie said sympathetically, patting Olivia's shoulder. "Where are you currently stuck?" "It's the storyline and character development," Olivia explained, spreading her hands. "I'm struggling to come up with innovative ideas, and I'm having difficulty with Francis's script." "Are you missing Wendy a lot right now?" Millie asked with a smile. "I miss her all the time," Olivia replied, pursing her lips. Her expression carried a hint of sorrow. She was unable to contact Wendy, whose phone remained off, and she hadn't received an email response from her for quite some time. Even Dusty hadn't checked back in with her yet. They didn't know exactly where she was anymore, and the situation weighed heavily on Olivia's heart. "I understand," Millie nodded empathetically. She had also dreamt about Wendy several times, so she could relate to Olivia's feelings. "So what should we do now?" Sam Feinstein leaned on the table and asked, "Should we start collecting more resumes online from strangers to grow the company?" "No," Olivia shook her head. "Let's try to avoid that if possible." She wanted to resort to online submissions only as a last resort. "Ugh," Sam Feinstein sighed. "This is getting really challenging, Liv." At that moment, Francis entered the room with his school bag on his back. "Liv, I just ran into our teacher Adam outside, and he asked me to tell you to go to his office. He seems to have something to discuss with you." "All right." Olivia stood up, but as she did, she felt dizzy and had to steady herself by holding onto the table. Frowning, She picked up the coffee on the table and took another sip before heading out of the classroom. "Wait for me, I'll come with you," Millie said, noticing Olivia's condition and growing concerned. "Sure," Olivia replied, and the two of them walked side by side toward the office. Along the way, Millie continued to encourage Olivia to get more rest. Olivia didn't know what to say and could only smile awkwardly. It wasn't that she didn't want to sleep. She simply couldn't. When she closed her eyes, her mind was flooded with script plots and plans. Even though she was extremely tired, her mind remained active, as if some sort of demonic barrier prevented her from finding respite. Upon arriving at the office, Olivia knocked on the door before entering. Inside, she found Adam and an unfamiliar girl. The girl was short, with her back turned toward them, and she appeared chubby. As Olivia and Millie approached, the girl's cute facial features became apparent. She had large, doll-like eyes, a small nose, and a petite mouth with naturally red lips. Her fair skin looked as if it had never seen sunlight, yet it had a soft and tender quality to it. Her neat, short hair added to her overall charm. She was dressed in standard school uniform, and while she might not have stood out at first glance, there was something endearing about her that made people want to embrace her. "Liv, this is Lena, a new transfer student from Chicago," Adam said, adjusting his glasses. "She's a sophomore, but she's pretty smart, so she's in a lot of advanced placement courses that are usually reserved for seniors. So she'll be in most of your classes with you. Please escort her to your classroom and introduce her to the other students. She'll be sitting in the seat next to Pamela." "Of course," Olivia agreed, smiling at Lena, who returned the smile, revealing two deep dimples on her cheeks. "Let's head to the classroom then. It's almost time for class," Olivia announced. "Student Lena, please follow me." "All right, and I apologize for the trouble," Lena replied in a soft voice that matched her appearance. Just as they exited the office, Olivia was about to say something when Lena, walking alongside her and Millie, commented, "Oh, by the way, I've played your video game. The levels are not all that impressive. If not for the game created by high school students gimmick, it would have been hard to gain recognition and for you to win that contest." Olivia stopped in her tracks. "Uh-oh," she thought, her eyes narrowing as she looked at this new girl, Lena, up and down. "Are you going to be a new person I have to add to my list?" She tried to suss out whether the girl was joking, but reading her thoughts, she realized she wasn't. Elsewhere in the city, in an extremely well-hidden mansion on the outskirts of town, Wendy was wearing a chef's uniform and was surrounded by two burning flames. Both of her hands were shaking. Wendy sprinkled a spoonful of sugar into the dishes she was cooking. "This," Chef Rory frowned. "Wendy, this is the 5th spoonful of sugar you put in this sauce. Powdered sugar, brown sugar, cane sugar, fructose, and the spoonful of sugar just now." "Oh, sorry," Wendy winced. Then she turned off the fire and poured the sauce on the exquisite plate. The beauty of the plate was completely destroyed. After putting the frying pan back on the stove, Wendy used her dirty hands to carry the plate to Rory. "Grandpa, here's some food to eat." Rory didn't want to eat it. It looked inedible. Wendy listened to Rory sigh and lowered her head very low. She knew she could not make the dishes as delicious as Desiree and Olivia did. Realizing this as well, Chef Rory had to admit, some people are really not suitable for cooking. Wendy looked at the tip of her toes and felt a little disappointed. Her grandfather must be very disappointed in her. This was just the beginning. In the next 3 years, without Olivia accompanying her, how should she endure it? Olivia and Millie reacted with astonishment upon hearing Lena's words. Then Olivia halted and turned to face Lena, asking, "What did you say?" "I said your mobile game was awful," Lena remarked, crossing her arms. "It had simplistic gameplay, glaringly obvious ambush points, poor performance, and a plot that started as an industrial robot story, but transitioned into a contrived emotional one. The only redeeming aspect was the character design, which featured memorable, sexy images, but suffered from a lackluster name." "You bitch!" Millie frowned, puzzled by Lena's intentions. Why was she critiquing others like this straight out of the gate? She didn't even know them. Not just that, Lena continued after a pause. The visual composition of the entire game was severely unbalanced. Despite using a combination of 2D and 3D techniques, it's evident that the integration of these methods was amateur at best. It's utterly embarrassing. It's almost like you're giving people cancer. Lena made a disgusted expression, and then pointed at Olivia. The only thing that seems reasonable is your existence as a person. Me? Excuse me? Olivia furrowed her brow, pointing to herself. Yes, you, Olivia. Lena nodded and retracted her finger. Olivia looked slightly embarrassed. Lena, I believe there may be some misunderstanding. I'm not really sure what your intentions are, but... Lena grimaced. I'm interested in the 2D dimension, in what happens in video games. I have no interest in 3-dimensional humans. So what's your point now? Millie found Lena increasingly dense and hard to listen to. Was she trying to provoke them? Or trying to sound like a crazy person? I'm just objectively evaluating your game, Lena clarified. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give your game a 3.5 at best, considering it's a beginner's work. You can even add a 0.5 bonus. Do you know a lot about games? Olivia squinted slightly. Despite Lena's abrasive tone, her analysis was surprisingly logical. I wouldn't claim to be an expert, but I'm certainly more knowledgeable than you guys, Lena said with a hint of pride. You're right, Millie chimed in, smiling at Olivia. We were thinking along the same lines. She hoped if she agreed, the girl would shut up. I agree. Olivia nodded and extended her hand. Would you be interested in joining our game studio? I'm not interested. Lena shook her head. She was only interested in Olivia herself and had no desire to work in game development. She had come to New York City because she believed Olivia was a talent. Having played countless games over the years, she had encountered both classics and trash. When she played Liv's game, although she recognized that their composing techniques were inexperienced, the team exhibited commendable diligence in crafting the game. In essence, the team's core was the soul of the entire project. Initially, Lena wasn't particularly interested in Olivia. She only checked Olivia's social media to find out more about the game's creators. However, when she discovered that Olivia had been the first to conquer last year's most challenging VR game, the third checkpoint near Broken Wall, and had uploaded the cheat sheet to Reddit, her interest in Olivia was piqued. Lena enjoyed interacting with intelligent individuals, and Olivia seemed to align well with her tastes in recent years. What conditions do you require to join my company? Olivia doubted Lena would go to such lengths to transfer schools just for her, and Olivia valued talent greatly, especially when it came to growing her game company. I don't need any conditions, Lena shrugged, her expression making her reluctance to join their studio clear. Give it some thought. Olivia smiled confidently. Now come on, I gotta take you to the classroom. With ample time remaining before their game company really needed new workers, Olivia was confident she could persuade Lena. What a strange, unique person, Lena thought as she playfully licked her lips. After guiding Lena to the classroom, Olivia seated her in Pamela's place, thoroughly erasing any trace of Pamela's presence in the class. Unbeknownst to Olivia, she had already become the target of others' attention. Later that afternoon, in the student council activity room, the newly elected student council president propped up his chin with one hand and idly spun a pen with the other, his gaze fixed on the window as he daydreamed. He suddenly slammed his palm onto the table, leaving the girl beside him struggling to suppress her irritation. President, were you even listening to me? Oh, yeah. Only then did the student body president turn his head and look at the girl. What did you say again? The girl sighed in exasperation. Would you mind repeating it? The other students sitting around the table rolled their eyes. The previous senior student council president was unreliable, and his successor seemed to have perfectly inherited the trait. This new president had been unfocused all day. They couldn't fathom why someone like him was elected president in the first place, probably because all the people who had run for president junior year no longer needed to get into college, so there were no better choices. The current president, however, was trying to impress a girl at another school into thinking he was powerful and cool, so he ran. "I was suggesting that we do more this year than we did last year," the girl said after taking a deep breath. "Making the students happy will be our complete responsibility. So I was thinking of maybe implementing more dances or something." The student council president awkwardly chuckled a few times before suddenly shifting from his carefree demeanor to one of seriousness. "I will take charge of making sure everything runs smoothly. Let's put this proposal on hold for the moment," the student council president declared. "But," the girl began, but the student council president interrupted her. "Next proposal," he said, tapping his finger on the table. The atmosphere became uncomfortably tense, and the girl who had spoken earlier turned bright red. The boy beside her hurriedly proposed, There are a bunch of students who have a gaming studio that won first prize in a recent gaming contest. I propose that we try to incorporate this studio as a subsidiary department of the student council somehow." "What?" the student council president asked. He was so confused. "Well," the boy explained, "they originally had their teacher Adam help fill out paperwork and started it as a school-affiliated club since they were minors and got some scholarship grants as initial seed money, along with the money they put in to fund it, or so I hear. Then, eventually, Francis's parents technically took it private and are the CEOs on paper. Anyway, I thought we could use the fact that it's affiliated with the school to our advantage, though. Currently, their game enjoys a high reputation, and many students here wish to join as interns. However, the company consistently rejects people, citing a lack of job openings. All school-affiliated student organizations' purposes are to serve the students, but they can't do so by turning away eager members. So, I don't know, I was thinking maybe we could invite the members of the company to join the student council, and basically, anyone who wants to be able to put an internship with them on their resume for college applications could, instead, actually work for the student union. Because we could use the extra hands for fundraisers and activities and stuff." The boy paused for a moment and added, "Moreover, it would significantly enhance the student union's prestige and reinforce its unity within the school." The student council president narrowed his eyes slightly and inquired, "Who leads this studio?" "You mean the boss?" The others didn't appreciate the way the student council president spoke to them flippantly. Nevertheless, they glanced at each other and replied, "It's Olivia Johnson from the senior class." "Olivia?" The student council president's lips curled into a smile, and he resumed his casual demeanor. He rested his chin on his hands, gazing at the girl from earlier, who had lowered her head. Her face flushed with misty eyes, clearly unconvinced. "Hey, Amber?" "Yes, what do you want from me now?" Amber still felt wronged, and her tone remained sour. "Well," the student council president smiled and said, "I'm assigning you to oversee bringing the gaming company into the fold. Let's see if you can persuade Olivia and her team to join the student council." "Me?" Amber was taken aback. "If you can't," a shadow passed over the student council president's eyes, "it would suggest that you lack the capability. In that case, perhaps you won't need to participate in future student council discussions." "All right." Amber lifted her chin confidently, believing that many students were eager to join the student council, and this time they would accept her proposal directly. Convincing a random student to join shouldn't be difficult. "Do you have any other suggestions? If not, the meeting is adjourned." The student council president stretched and announced. With that, everyone packed their belongings and left the student council. Amber pursed her lips and walked out, feeling irritated. She couldn't believe the student council president, who wasn't even socially savvy, dared to look down on her. He truly didn't know how to appreciate the people around him. After everyone departed, the student council president yawned, stood up, and approached the window to gaze at the sunset scenery. With a faint smile on his face, hands in his pockets, he thought about how Olivia Johnson wouldn't be easy to handle. His last year of high school would indeed be interesting. Meanwhile, Olivia rubbed her nose and continued to focus on the math equations in front of her in her room. Do you have a cold? Vera, who was reading manga nearby, glanced at Olivia. The end of summer's hot, and a cold can be quite troublesome. No, I don't think so, Olivia replied, not feeling any other symptoms. Well, never mind. By the way, I saw that game of yours. It looked cool. Have you started working on another one? Vera asked. Yes. Olivia glanced at Vera. Vera looked at Olivia's practice question. You've been looking at this equation for a while. Why can't you solve it? It's nothing. I got a little distracted, Olivia said, shaking her head. She picked up her pen and quickly completed the question. With a light tap, Vera playfully tapped Olivia's head with her pen. Vera pretended to be annoyed and said, You, Olivia, distracted me while we were doing homework together. I sacrificed my valuable time. Olivia chuckled awkwardly. Honestly, tell me what's on your mind. Vera draped her slender arm over Olivia's shoulder, leaning in closely and inquiring, Is Chris occupying your thoughts? She could tell something was clearly on Olivia's mind. No, Olivia rolled her eyes. I'm thinking about Wendy. She sighed, supporting her chin with one hand. My eyelids have been twitching these past few days, and I have a bad feeling. I heard from Chris that you asked Dusty to protect Wendy, Vera mentioned. Wendy will be safe by her grandpa's side. That might not be the case. Olivia shook her head. When she was taken away by Michael, who could have anticipated the inhumane treatment she would endure at her own family members' hands? As she said this, in a standalone villa on the outskirts of Beijing with her family, Wendy couldn't remember how many times she had created inedible dishes. Chef Rory Chang had finally reached his breaking point. Without uttering a word, he left the kitchen. Wendy's hands were riddled with tiny holes. She knew she had to give up. No one would dare to eat her creations. Even a simple fried egg became inedible rubber under her touch. It was perplexing. Dusty, do you think these eggs are fake? Well, that basket of eggs might indeed be fake. Dusty pointed to an empty bamboo basket and the scattered eggshells. Wendy, perhaps you should consider giving up. Wendy let out a deep sigh. It wasn't that she didn't want to give up, but what other choice did she have? Their game had brought joy to Liv and the others. Wendy knew that Olivia was steadily advancing on the path to success, but she felt stuck, just like when she was in New York City, still useless. Your hand has a new burn, Dusty noted, his brow furrowing. Wait a moment, I'll fetch the first aid kit. Oh, Wendy nodded, then gazed at her hand. She recalled Olivia's words. Dusty was an impressive, nice guy, but with such a talentless cook like Wendy by his side, he had become a medic. Wendy couldn't help but feel sorry for Dusty, and this made her profoundly uneasy. Wendy peered at the plate of fried eggs and blamed herself. She walked over, picked up a piece, and tentatively tasted. As she chewed, the overpowering stench of eggs filled her mouth. Ugh, Wendy grimaced, resisting the urge to vomit. She tried to swallow but couldn't. Ultimately, she spat out the scrambled egg. My goodness, how can something be so repulsive? A girl's contemptuous snort echoed. Wendy looked up and saw the unfamiliar girl. Why had she never seen her before? Are you Chef Rory Chang's granddaughter? The girl scrutinized Wendy from head to toe. How could someone like her have received all of Chef Rory's teachings? She couldn't even cook an egg, and wearing glasses was simply distasteful. Wendy observed that this girl didn't approach with good intentions, and silently recalled Olivia's advice in her heart. Ask more questions about everything. Don't act hastily. Don't easily trust other people's words. Avoid getting involved in unnecessary matters. This girl seemed to be quite troublesome, so Wendy brushed her off. Without acknowledging the girl, Wendy turned her head and began organizing the kitchen utensils. Hey, do you not know how to speak? I'm talking to you. Clearly displeased with Wendy's indifference, the girl marched forward and pushed Wendy's shoulder. After taking a couple of steps to regain her balance, Wendy finally steadied herself. She frowned, set down the item in her hand on the table, and raised her head to ask, "Before asking about others, shouldn't you first introduce yourself? You don't even grasp this basic logic, yet you're here to question my ability to speak? Was this person out of her mind? Who do you think you're being arrogant with?" The girl was clearly infuriated by Wendy's attitude. "Listen up. In the Chang family, we communicate through culinary skills. Don't think you have any special privileges just because you're Chef Rory Chang's granddaughter." "Ha!" Wendy sneered. "Don't make me laugh. If you didn't think you had special privileges, would you be doing this to me?" "You!" The girl was taken aback. She was so angry that she raised her hand and slapped Wendy. It appeared as though she wanted to strike her again. At that moment, Dusty, who had returned, grabbed the girl's wrist. Wendy winced from the slap, her face stinging. She clenched her fist and retaliated immediately. She hadn't come all the way across the world, away from her friends and life, to be bullied. "You! How dare you hit me?" The girl was in shock, gazing at Wendy in disbelief. She tried to fight back, but her right hand was still held by someone, and she swung her left hand at Wendy. Wendy sidestepped, narrowly avoiding the girl's slap. In a swift motion, she turned her hand, causing the plate of ruined fried eggs to fly up in the air and hit the girl in the face. "You'd better not provoke me in the future," Wendy warned, suddenly encouraged by this turn of luck. "You! Ugh!" The girl stamped her foot in frustration, her beautiful face turning beet red. The commotion attracted the attention of others. The first woman who entered, the woman a beauty herself, noticed her daughter covered in the foul-smelling fried egg and her elegant dress stained. Her heart ached. Kiki, what happened to you?" "Mom, she hit me." Kiki pointed at Wendy and said, "She humiliated me." Desiree rushed over, her expression one of utter disbelief. She saw the red mark on Wendy's face and couldn't help but feel her heart ache. "Wendy, what happened to your face? Does it hurt?" she asked with genuine concern. Wendy pursed her lips and shook her head. Having just arrived in Beijing with Desiree, she didn't want to cause any trouble for her mother in front of her long-lost relatives. The middle-aged man who had entered last was taken aback. "Kiki, are you throwing a tantrum again?" he asked. He knew his daughter Kiki all too well. She had been pampered from a young age due to her exceptional culinary talent. People held her in high regard. But over time, she developed some small issues. He had come to visit Desiree as a branch of the Chang family, hoping to build a good relationship. Little did he know that things would take a sour turn from the very beginning. "Oh, my dear daughter," the beautiful woman exclaimed, her heart aching. Then she turned to Desiree and complained, "Desiree, don't take this the wrong way, but now that you're back, you should try to help your daughter a little. The Chang family doesn't operate like the outside world, and Beijing is different from your city. You need to learn the rules." Desiree's face shifted between green and white upon hearing those words, while Wendy trembled with anger. Clearly, Kiki had come looking for trouble. "It's not just her. It's also her little manservant, Dusty," Kiki angrily remarked, clutching her red wrist. "I don't know where she found this kind of—" Dusty interrupted her by raising his hand high into the air. He then aimed his palm in Kiki's direction. "Try saying one more word. Ever heard of swift justice? If you say another word, I'll show you just how quickly this hand can move through the air. So shall we see if your skin is as strong as your mouth?" Kiki was instantly rendered speechless. "Oh!" The beautiful woman was shocked. "What's the point of threatening people? Desiree, please check on your family servants." Kiki's father was also stunned. "You!" he began, then turned his attention to Desiree. "Desiree, stop him!" "Dusty, what are you doing?" Desiree looked at Dusty, worried he might do something rash. Kiki's legs shook with fear. "The Chang family doesn't need a servant like you." "I'm sorry, I'm neither a member of the Chang family nor a servant," Dusty sneered. lifting the corner of his mouth as he gazed wickedly at Desiree. "Madam, I was sent by Miss Olivia Johnson to protect Wendy. I answer only to Miss Johnson. She told me that if anyone dared to bully Wendy, I should eliminate them." "No, no!" the beautiful woman hurriedly spoke up. "Kiki didn't bully her. We're leaving now. We're leaving right now." "Oh?" Dusty raised an eyebrow, looking at Kiki. "Are you planning to leave?" Kiki bit her lower lip and glared at Dusty. Eventually, she reluctantly nodded. It wasn't that she was admitting defeat to Dusty, but she valued her own life. "Get lost," Dusty said, lowering his arm. He watched as Kiki's parents hurriedly escorted her away. Before they left, Kiki's mother shot a venomous glare at Desiree. Dusty snorted, tucking his shirt back into his pants. "Dusty, please try to be less impulsive in the future." Desiree sighed, visibly shaken. She feared what could have happened. Regardless of Kiki's arrogance, she was still a Chang family member who was related to Desiree. "I was just giving her a good scare," Dusty replied. "I wasn't going to actually act on my threat. It's designed specifically for intimidation." He had a gun loaded with bullets in his suitcase, and when that one came out, it wouldn't stop until the job was done. But he didn't intend on using that here unless he absolutely had to. Desiree and Wendy were both stunned by Dusty's performance. His acting had truly frightened them. "Dusty, please try to scare people a little less in the future," Desiree muttered. She didn't ask for much, just that Wendy could lead a safe and healthy life as she grew up. "Yes, ma'am," Dusty said, narrowing his eyes slightly. He would be the one who decided whether or not people should be scared, and he knew what he was doing. Otherwise, Olivia wouldn't have allowed him to protect Wendy. The identity of Chef Rory's biological granddaughter was too alluring and dangerous. No one knew how many people in the shadows would want to eliminate someone like her when there was so much of Rory's money at stake, and people were set to inherit it once he passed. "All right," Desiree sighed. "Wendy, if you face any difficulties in the future, inform me immediately." "Okay," Wendy nodded. "People might confront you in the future," Desiree said with some hesitation. She had endured scorn from Kiki's mother in the past. For Wendy's sake, she could endure anything, but she couldn't bear the thought of her father, who had searched for her for over a decade, worrying about her affairs. "They've probably already complained," Dusty remarked, glancing at the person outside the door and smirking. It all hinged on Chef Rory Chang's response. Elsewhere, as expected, Kiki's eyes welled up with tears. Her mother's eyes also glistened. Kiki's father appeared troubled, keeping his head down as he entered the room without saying a word. "What exactly happened?" Chef Rory Chang rubbed his temples, feeling a throbbing headache. He had completely lost confidence in Wendy's culinary skills today. Although he was overjoyed to reunite with his daughter and granddaughter, this granddaughter seemed unhelpable, despite his exceptional culinary abilities. "It's him!" Kiki pointed at Dusty. "He threatened me and even tried to kill me." "Enough!" Chef Rory Chang reprimanded Kiki with a stern look. Under his intense gaze, Kiki shrank back and dared not speak further. She glared at Dusty and Wendy with resentment in her eyes. "Wendy, tell me the truth," Chef Rory Chang urged Wendy. "What really happened?" "It's nothing important," Wendy replied, lowering her head slightly. "Really?" Chef Rory Chang stared at Wendy and noticed red marks on her face. "Yes, really," Wendy affirmed, gazing at her feet. "You're lying." Kiki couldn't control her emotions upon hearing Wendy's words. "You clearly—" "Ken?" Rory interjected, addressing Kiki's father. "If you can't raise your daughter properly, please take her back and educate her. When she's reformed, she can return." "But, Uncle—" Ken was taken aback, immediately looking at Kiki. Kiki's expression also changed upon hearing her father's words. "Wendy, I'll ask you again," Rory said, fixing his gaze on Wendy. Is there genuinely nothing wrong?" "Nothing," Wendy replied, keeping her head down to hide her tears, fearing she might cry if she looked up. "All right then, if it's nothing," Rory nodded and continued, "you can leave now." Kiki's mother, furious that her daughter had suffered for nothing, exclaimed, "This is unbelievable." "Someone please escort the guest out," Chef Rory ordered immediately, signaling for them to leave. Seeing this, Ken had no choice but to exit the Chang residence with his wife and daughter, visibly upset and disgruntled. Before leaving, Kiki shot an intense glare at Wendy, determined not to let this matter go so easily. She firmly believed that anyone from her own family branch was more deserving of inheriting Chef Rory Chang's unmatched culinary empire and business holdings than this newcomer who had suddenly appeared. The Chang family wasn't known for being welcoming, and as time passed, some people couldn't tolerate Wendy's presence. Ken and his family departed, leaving Chef Rory to say, "Desiree, Dusty, both of you can leave as well. I need to speak with Wendy alone." Desiree and Wendy exchanged relieved glances before exiting the room. Dusty followed Desiree, confident that Rory wouldn't harm his own granddaughter. In the vast kitchen, only Rory and Wendy remained, facing each other. Once Desiree had left, Wendy still kept her gaze on the floor. She knew she had disappointed her grandfather, and it was normal for him to be angry after their argument. "Wendy?" Chef Rory placed his hand on Wendy's shoulder. "Look at your grandfather." Reluctantly, Wendy looked up at her grandpa, her expression nervous. "Wendy, tell Grandpa the truth. Do you enjoy cooking?" Rory asked. Wendy pursed her lips and shook her head slightly. She whispered, I prefer eating more." "In that case, do you have any hobbies?" Rory questioned. "I like to draw," Wendy replied. "Back in New York City, my friends and I came up with video games, and I used to draw their characters." "Character design for games?" Chef Rory Chang contemplated for a moment. "I might not fully understand it, but if it's something you enjoy, you should excel in it." "Grandfather," Wendy gazed at her grandpa, seeking clarification. "You don't need to pursue cooking, even though it's my passion that I can't pass on to you," Rory admitted with a self-deprecating smile. He cared more about his daughter and granddaughter's happiness than his culinary legacy. "Really?" Wendy excitedly grabbed Rory's hand. "Grandpa, even though I might not be talented, you can teach someone else. You could teach my friend Liv. She's incredibly smart." Rory's expression shifted upon hearing Wendy's words. "Nonsense. The Chang family's culinary traditions must not be shared with outsiders. Your mother broke the rules, and I haven't even disciplined her yet." "Oh." Wendy lowered her head again, feeling deep regret for reminding him of her mom's rule break. Rory sighed as he looked at Wendy. "Let's not discuss outsiders. Let's focus on you. If you truly enjoy painting, I'll arrange for you to have a drawing and painting teacher. You started a bit late at 16 or 17 years old, but if it's your passion, you should pursue it wholeheartedly. Don't let yourself have any regrets." "Really? Wow, thank you." Wendy nodded enthusiastically, determined to help Olivia in any way she could. Learning this skill could be her contribution. 3 years from now, when she reunited with Olivia, they could hang out together with their friends, and she could help design more characters for the games they made. Just like before, but even better now. She missed those times dearly. As she reminisced, she couldn't help but think of Steve, a smile forming on her face. However, the thought of him quickly made her uncomfortable. She needed to distract herself and shifted the conversation, asking, "Grandfather, what's on the menu for dinner tonight?" "What would you like to eat?" Chef Rory Chang gazed at Wendy. "I want the amazing duck that you made the other day," Wendy replied, smacking her lips. "All right, then Grandpa will prepare the duck for you." Chef Rory nodded. "You should go out and let your mother and Dusty take a break." With this in mind, Rory added, "Wendy, even though Dusty was sent by Olivia to protect you, we're in the Chang family household now, and he must still follow the Chang family rules. Understood? Yes, Wendy nodded and explained. Grandfather, Dusty was only trying to protect me. Now you admit that something happened? Rory teased. Wendy blushed and lowered her head. How about you go outside? Rory waved his hand and began preparing to wash his hands and cook the dishes. After a lifetime of cooking, Chef Rory Chang finally felt the happiest when he cooked for his daughter and granddaughter himself, especially when he saw them enjoying the food. He felt the true joy of heaven. However, the future would certainly not be peaceful. Even among the 7 great families, there were no honest individuals. Olivia Johnson, Chef Rory thought, recalling the young girl he had met in New York City. Could such a girl truly withstand the pressure from all sides? As a descendant of the Park family, with the blood of the Johnson family, she was still engaged to the Jones family. There were only 2 possible outcomes for this girl. One was that she would become a pawn in the internal conflicts of the 7 great families and become the target of the Jones clan's attacks. The other was that she would climb to the pinnacle of power, trampling over the 7 great clans and helping the Jones family flourish. Regardless of the outcome, Chef Rory Chang did not want Wendy to get involved. After searching for his daughter for 16 years, he did not want to worry about his granddaughter when he eventually passed away. The skies of America were about to change, and it was time for change. These old conflicts were about to be consigned to history, reduced to mere skeletons. The future world would have no connection to them. Chef Rory Chang only wished for a few peaceful years to witness Wendy's marriage and the birth of her children. This was enough, his final wish as a grandfather. The following day, on the 2nd floor of Marshall High School in New York, the classroom was unusually quiet. Even though it was the end of the class period, all eyes were fixed on the classroom's blackboard. I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Olivia was taken aback. How troublesome. Amber frowned and patiently reiterated. I am here on behalf of the Student Union to inform you that your school-affiliated gaming studio will now be under the direct supervision of the Student Union. Starting today, you will be the head of that department. As Amber boldly delivered this surprising news to Olivia, Olivia felt far from pleased. What was this random girl up to? Is there an issue with my hearing or your language proficiency? Olivia furrowed her brow. What do you mean? Amber exclaimed, taken aback. You're talking about my company somehow being part of the student council? Olivia sneered. You expect me to really do that? On what grounds? Amber didn't anticipate Olivia's response and was shocked. She stammered, Your company was originally affiliated with the school because Francis accepted scholarship-type funding for it. So the student union thought we could capitalize on your success to bring more opportunities to the school as a whole. We were simply extending an invitation to join with us. What kind of attitude is this? Invitation implies a polite request to meet at a specific time and place, commonly used in service industry etiquette. Olivia paused, locking eyes with her. I don't see politeness in your approach. Whoa! Amber's face flushed with anger. Was Olivia questioning her character? And, Olivia continued, resting her chin on her hand, any cooperation should be mutually beneficial. I don't see how collaborating with you benefits me. Our company may have been slightly school-affiliated in the beginning, but it hasn't been for a long time. Why wouldn't it be beneficial? Amber retorted, her face still red. If you guys are in the student council this year, it will look good as you go into college. This is an opportunity most can only dream of. But I must not be a part of the majority then. Olivia smiled. Since I've established my studio for business, my focus has been on personal gain. I need a compelling reason to join the student council, something that truly motivates me. Olivia, don't be so arrogant. Amber clenched her fists. This will add significant prestige to your future resume. Isn't that enticing enough? Wrong. Olivia interrupted Amber. I seek to advance my interests, not merely accumulate prestige. All those benefits you mentioned won't be worth much. Moreover, not everyone values the student council's advantages as much as you do. Amber was left speechless by Olivia's words and her commanding demeanor. Millie, Olivia snapped her fingers. Continue. Of course, Millie said with a smirk. From our company's perspective, our development is currently stable, focusing on catering to the gaming market. Even if the student council offers assistance, it would be quite limited. Secondly, as per the student handbook, if a school club department generates income, which we have not, and haven't been since the first week we existed, it must pay 3% of its funds to the student council, contributing to the overall school fund. Why would we pay money to the student council that offers us little help? But you're students at Marshall High School, Amber argued, though her confidence waned. While we are students here, we are also individuals, Millie shrugged. Moreover, the student union shouldn't have the authority to represent all students' personal lives, should it? It can be said that the student union primarily serves the students' interests. Its purpose is to act as a bridge between the school and its students, not to silence dissent and exploit students. Lena suddenly interjected. All decisions by the student union must adhere to the principles of autonomy and voluntariness. Who are you? What do you know? Amber's anger flared as she felt the student union's prestige being challenged and her dignity questioned. I know a lot more than you, a student council officer, Lena declared, raising her chin. She believed that her knowledge of video games was relevant in this case, and she couldn't tolerate this Amber girl's haughty demeanor. The student union's purpose is to serve the students. If you can't grasp this fundamental concept, perhaps being a member isn't suitable for you. Tisk tisk. It's perfectly fine if you don't want to join an organization like this. Amber clenched her fists in frustration. We just discussed our plans moving forward. Millie paused briefly before continuing. Amber bit her lower lip, struggling to find words to refute. You don't need to be so self-centered, do you? Even if you don't need this, what about your team members? What about the members of your studio? She couldn't believe that nobody was affected. I'm fine with it too, Sam Feinstein chimed in, raising his hand. Liv and I don't need to be in student council anymore because we will go to New York University. And my grades are stable, so we don't need anything more on our college applications. Even if my grades aren't top-notch, I'm already accepted to a college too, Steve added, spreading his hands. I'm not aiming for university admission, Zach shrugged. Domestic game programming universities didn't meet his standards. He planned to work hard in the studio during high school, save money, and study abroad. No issues here either, Jeremy spoke softly. Even if his grades weren't the best, he'd gotten to a bunch of schools and was taking a year off to travel before picking one. It simply depended on his desires. As for me, Francis paused briefly. His grades were the weakest among the group, especially now that he was engrossed in gaming. After careful consideration, he said, I don't mind. I have the financial means to be fine without needing to say this game company is in some way affiliated with the school. You've heard them. Olivia waved her hand dismissively. You can now leave. You guys! Amber struggled to find words and scolded. People like you only focus on the current situation without any foresight. Even if you've started a studio now, what can you achieve? You're just a disorganized bunch of individuals, useless! A waste of my time! With that, Amber turned around, intending to leave. A sharp slap resounded on the table, and Olivia, with a cold expression, retorted, People like us may be from humble backgrounds, but why don't you take a closer look at yourself? That's right, Millie coldly sneered. You, who have never earned a single cent and even disdain those with significant wealth, call us low class? You spout nonsense early in the morning and have the audacity to claim we're wasting your time? What a load of rubbish. Lena shook her head. She relished these moments of seeing someone being put in their place. If it weren't for the no snacks rule in the classroom, she'd have already taken out her treasured sour cream-flavored potato chips. I'm truly sorry. We've just received our payment for last month. Our disorganized group has just made over $1 million. Francis proudly displayed a message from the bank on his phone. Amber clenched her fist tightly, utterly silenced. The ringing of the school bell became Amber's humiliating background music. "Listen up," Olivia declared. "I'll be waiting for your apology to us, the supposedly disorganized bunch." "Dream on!" With that, Amber stormed out of the classroom. Olivia's lips curled into a triumphant smile. Dream on? She didn't know who was dreaming. She was waiting for Amber to apologize. Applause erupted in the classroom, marking Amber's embarrassment and the end of her high and mighty reign. "Are you all welcoming me so warmly?" the math teacher said as he entered the classroom, puzzled by the applause. The students awkwardly smiled, but none of them uttered a word. "Since you're welcoming me so warmly, I can't treat you poorly, can I?" the math teacher smiled, deciding to give them a small test. "Sam, please come up and write the questions on the blackboard." The students were taken aback. Weren't they promised not to be mistreated? That day, news of Olivia's confrontation with the student council spread throughout the school. Some applauded her courage, while others ridiculed her for challenging the student council. Opposing the student council was considered a daring move in the hoity-toity politics of the school, and some couldn't fathom why anyone would do it, especially someone like Olivia, who just last year was the junior class's president. Amber, in particular, felt deeply embarrassed. Her pride and arrogance had taken a severe blow. She had always behaved arrogantly. Hearing Olivia dismiss the student council so openly made her feel extremely uncomfortable. The comments from her classmates only added to her humiliation. Standing on the empty rooftop, Amber gripped the guardrail tightly, her anger boiling. She wished Olivia and her studio would disappear as soon as possible. How could they make so much money from playing games? Were gamers' minds filled with nonsense? "You've lost," a male voice interrupted Amber's thoughts. She spun around and saw the approaching figure. Amber's face turned pale. "President, what are you doing here?" "I admire the defeated spirit of a stray dog," the student council president said, smiling coldly as he approached. "Excuse me?" Amber's face contorted. "Don't overestimate yourself." "Am I overestimating myself?" the student council president sneered. "Compared to you, I'm far more aware of your actions. Don't assume no one knows what you did to get to where you are in life. I simply haven't bothered to investigate you." The student council president put his hands in his pockets. "If I decided to investigate you, I doubt you'd remain at Marshall High School." "What do you want?" Amber looked at him, realizing her secret, which she thought was well hidden, was transparent to the student council president. "Apologize to Olivia." A hint of sternness entered the student council president's eyes. "Apologize to her?" Amber began to lose her composure. If it weren't for Olivia, would she be in this situation? "Of course, you should apologize. Or should it be me?" The student council president forcefully stomped on the guardrail, creating a muffled sound. Amber shivered and directed her gaze at the student council president. She locked eyes with him, realizing that it was possibly their first encounter. "Leave immediately," the student council president said icily. "Get lost." Amber heard his words and felt her calves and stomach trembling. She hastily departed from the rooftop and swung the iron door shut behind her, taking a deep breath. Good, the eyesore departed, the student council president thought. He positioned himself in front of the fence, gazing at the scenery ahead. It's truly beautiful. It's a shame that the scenery is so lifeless. People are alive, but some would rather choose death over life. Though she was reluctant in the afternoon, Amber still went to apologize to Olivia. Upon hearing Amber's apology, Olivia wore a displeased expression and remained silent, allowing Amber to leave. That's right, Steve shook his head. She mentioned this morning that she'd come to apologize to our unruly bunch of misfits, and she only showed up in the afternoon. I wish she hadn't come, Olivia said solemnly, grappling with the situation. What? Steve didn't immediately catch on. Never mind. Olivia shook her head. realizing she needed to make a quick decision about certain matters. Jeremy, standing beside her, glanced at Olivia and instantly grasped her thoughts. He wondered if maybe Amber was hoping to get close to Olivia for other reasons, beyond just school-related, trivial stuff. If so, the situation was obviously more complicated. After school that day, Olivia gathered the members of her studio for a meeting at the nearest coffee shop. They had just placed their orders when Olivia spoke with a serious demeanor. "Our video game company needs to be dissolved." "What?" The group seemed perplexed, as if struggling to comprehend Olivia's words. Dissolve the company? Why dissolve a gaming studio with such a promising future? Millie was the first to react. "Why?" "Because our company is garnering too much attention, and it's too affiliated with the school. People say a bunch of high school students from Marshall High created it, instead of saying, 'Wow, look at the growth that company is enjoying.' The student union is already trying to co-opt our success and somehow turn it into their success. We can't let them. I don't want our successes to be associated with Marshall High, or for them to think they deserve some sort of ownership legally." Everyone fell into silence upon hearing this. No one was naive. They instantly grasped the situation. Olivia nodded. "I suspect the student council president is behind this." "I'll investigate him," one of her friends said. If the student council president was behind this, he'd undoubtedly take personal action or exert school pressure if required. "Olivia is so right." Millie squinted. "The student union won't permit our expansion. We've consistently maintained strict criteria when selecting new employees to join us, and we can't compete with the student union's scale." Sam Feinstein frowned. "Not only in scale, but also in reputation." Olivia shook her head. "Regardless, all this silly hubbub is making me realize we've learned as much as we can from our current business, and we've made a name for ourselves so our fans will follow us to our next venture. But we should dissolve this one before we do anything else." "What's the plan afterward?" Millie looked at Olivia. "You must have a backup plan." "I intend to start a company directly," Olivia addressed the group, "without any outside help, no affiliation with anything." "Cool," Frances smiled. "Are you thinking of establishing a game company right away?" "Well, a company that purchases other companies," Olivia affirmed. "The simplest approach is to purchase a video game company first." "Purchase a company with the necessary facilities and personnel?" Steve pondered. "That shouldn't be too difficult. With the recent decline in some game companies, we should have enough funds to buy one." "Find a struggling company with financial problems. That would be much easier," Millie suggested. "If necessary, we should look for one with technology, facilities, and financial issues. It might not be straightforward." "Exactly," Olivia said. Olivia wanted to be one of those movers and shakers who bought failing companies, fixed them up, and then sold them or took them public for millions more in profit. There were people who made billions doing that. She didn't just want revenge anymore. Now she wanted to be a power broker. That was the ultimate revenge. Then she could do whatever she wanted to her enemies, and she'd be able to pull all the strings necessary to get away with it. Zach chimed in. "I heard from my sister that their company is facing significant financial problems. They might even struggle to pay salaries next month." "Jeremy, go check it out," Olivia instructed. "If it's only a financial issue, it's manageable." "Understood," Jeremy nodded. While it appeared that the gaming company was on the verge of disbandment, the next step involved establishing a new, more ambitious company, which remained exciting. Within a week, Jeremy thoroughly investigated the company Zach had mentioned. The company has a good reputation. However, internal conflicts among top management has arisen in recent years, primarily related to defense versus expansion. Additionally, the company specializes in the website category, but the rise of smartphones has significantly impacted them. Furthermore, it seems someone is intentionally trying to undermine them. Intentionally sabotage them? Olivia furrowed her brows. Who could it be? You should ask your fiancé about that. Jeremy turned his head, sounding slightly annoyed. Chris? Olivia was taken aback. She hadn't seen him in a long time, as his parents pulled a bunch of strings so he had graduated earlier to attend New York University, while everyone else was still in high school with one more year to go. I understand. However, before Olivia could approach Chris for answers, the student union president personally approached her. Olivia regarded the unkempt young man before her, sensing a dangerously sly smile. The student council president graces us with his presence. What's the matter? Don't tell me he wants my game company back under the student council's control. Of course not. The student council president crossed his arms and stated, I genuinely enjoyed playing your game. Olivia narrowed her eyes slightly. No need for pleasantries. Tell me your purpose. You really don't understand my style. The student council president stretched and replied, I just came to say hello. Then you must think you've come too far. Olivia smiled. I've already exchanged greetings. The president can leave now. So cold. Are you always this curt when you talk to people? The president shook his head and leaned closer to Olivia. Speaking in hushed tones, he said, Or do you have the right to be arrogant just because you have the support of a rich family and 2 celebrity chefs? To be precise, Olivia took a step back. I don't need anyone's support. I have the right to be arrogant. She knew this student council president was no ordinary person. The event that Chef Theodore hosted had only been attended by carefully selected distinguished guests. To know about it, not to mention other details, his background must be quite formidable. It's not very cute. The student council president shook his head and moved closer. In a voice audible only to the 2 of them, he said, Or maybe Chris is infatuated with you. You should ask him that, Olivia said, spreading her hands. I'm sure he'd love it. Now, if there's nothing else, you can leave now. I'll be by to chat again, the president of the student union declared, stretching after his statement. He waved his hand casually and turned to leave. Weird. Steve shook his head. This student council president looks really strange. I checked him out. Jeremy narrowed his eyes slightly. He's from the Jorgensen family. The Jorgensen family, as in Sven's family? What is he, his younger brother? Olivia was stunned, realizing why the student council president seemed familiar. It seems to be his younger cousin, maybe, Jeremy replied. The Jorgensen family is currently divided into 2 factions. This is really troublesome. Olivia shook her head, almost too preoccupied with her own family issues to think about others. Being alive is already a troublesome matter. Steve shook his head with a bitter smile. Ugh, you would say that. Forget it. Olivia frowned. I'm going to make a call. Okay. After leaving the classroom, Olivia called Chris. Hello, are you there? Olivia, Chris left his phone at home. Sven answered the phone and said, Do you have something you want me to convey? Yeah, have him call me back later. Olivia replied, then asked, Sven, what are you doing? I'm waiting for my old pot of vegetables to steam. Sven checked the time. It'll be ready in 30 seconds. I want to ask you about your brother. Olivia paused and said, Do you know you have a brother in Marshall High School? Who? I don't have a younger brother. Do you mean Bjorn? Sven thought for a moment. It might be him from my 3rd uncle's family. He's the only relative I have who is around your age. How old is he? Olivia inquired. I don't know either. Our 2 families are not on good terms and rarely interact, Sven explained. He's from the side that hasn't given me a dime since I was young. That really doesn't make sense, Olivia agreed. I understand. Enjoy your old pot of pickled vegetables. Remember to ask Chris to call me back. Okay, Sven nodded. As she hung up the phone, Olivia turned around and went back to the classroom. At home, when she was studying, she realized Chris should have called her back by now. When she was eating dinner, Olivia looked at the phone beside her from time to time, too. If it was a few weeks ago, Chris would have returned to her call long ago by now. Could it be that something had happened to him? Olivia, why are you always staring at the phone while eating? Michael looked at Olivia and asked. Oh, I'm fine, Olivia replied. I'm waiting for Chris's call. I need to talk to him about something. Oh, Michael answered and ate a few more mouthfuls before saying, You must remember to prioritize your studies. Dad, don't worry. Olivia knew Michael's worries, but she also knew her limits. Ugh. Monica rolled her eyes. This Olivia was too good at talking back and showing off her relationship with Chris. Who was she showing off to? She glanced at Olivia's phone with a look of disgust. This kind of low-end phone was only suitable for people like Olivia. Olivia heard what Monica was thinking, but she was so preoccupied by Chris's silence, she looked at her phone again with a frown. Her heart felt somewhat uneasy. Could something have really happened to Chris? Was it Franco Alvo who wanted to deal with him? Olivia, what are you thinking about? Seeing Olivia almost knock over her soup bowl, Michael frowned. Are you all right? Are you uncomfortable? I'm fine. Olivia smiled and shook her head. Chris hasn't returned my call. I'm just a little worried. Olivia really cares about Chris. Rachel glanced at Olivia as her tone was a little sour. Are you all right? Olivia casually replied after eating a few mouthfuls of rice. What kind of joke was this? Dad, I have something to discuss with you. When can you spare me half an hour? Michael knew it was about Olivia's gaming studio. He nodded and said, Anytime. Thank you, Dad. Olivia smiled. This time, she wanted to transfer a large sum from his account to hers. Monica did not like Olivia showing off her relationship with Chris first, then showing off her father-daughter relationship with Michael. She rolled her eyes, and a plan jumped into her mind. Monica curled her lips in disdain. Olivia was waiting for Chris to call, right? I want to see how you will wait without your phone, Monica thought, snickering to herself. Olivia, too busy in her days to read Monica's thoughts, returned to her room after dinner. She used the computer to make a simple business plan, and then produced a USB drive so she could save it. Then she turned around and went to Michael's room. Just as she went out, the phone on the bed started vibrating. The moment Olivia left her room, Monica secretly snuck into Olivia's bedroom. At first glance, she saw Olivia's phone vibrating on the bed and took a few steps forward. When Monica saw the number displayed on the screen, jealousy and hatred filled her heart. She picked up Olivia's phone and went to the bathroom. She turned on the tap in the sink and turned it into a small steam. Then she threw Olivia's phone into the sink. Take that, Monica coldly snorted. Now let's see you try to make your little call. After snorting, Monica turned around and was about to leave when she saw that Olivia's computer was on standby. Monica curled her lips and continued forward to turn on the computer. When the system identified that the user was not Olivia, it automatically turned into a virtual computer. Monica looked at the empty desktop and there was nothing on the various disks. Not interesting, she mumbled. Then she turned around and left Olivia's bedroom. On the other side of the mansion, Olivia didn't realize that Monica had entered her room to cause trouble. She was busy talking with Michael about her business. So you decided to start a company directly, right? Michael asked. Yes, Olivia nodded. Originally, I wanted to open a company after graduation, but the student union thing is too disgusting, and the school would probably interfere. So in order to do something that won't involve everyone, I think I should just hang up my hat and start a new private company. That way, it will be easier to control. You can do that, Michael frowned slightly, but you don't have enough experience. If you want to start a company, you need an experienced person to help you manage it. Besides, you are still underage. All kinds of procedures, tax reports, and business permits are quite troublesome to handle. True, Olivia nodded and looked at Michael. Dad, why don't you help me take care of it? You want me to help you? Michael smiled. What about the family if I'm busy helping you, silly child? Olivia did not know how to continue. The Johnson family was an impending disaster, yet her father still cared about helping everyone else. Olivia, do you actually have enough funds to start a company? Michael inquired. I have a substantial amount of funds to initiate the company. Olivia replied honestly. I intend to acquire a company currently facing financial losses, but possessing sufficient technology. Acquire? Buying a company can be quite complicated, Michael said, frowning. It involves more than just financial matters. I understand, Olivia nodded, and I know I'm not very knowledgeable about it. Ugh, Michael sighed. He did have knowledge, but he was occupied with his own responsibilities. The Johnson family's business had been struggling recently, and there were financial loopholes and turnover issues. He was contemplating using his own funds to cover the Johnson family's deficit. Dad, I'll be needing a significant amount of money in the near future, Olivia said with some hesitation. If possible, can we discuss it? Sure, Michael agreed finally. He was proud of his daughter's ambition and sense of initiative. Maybe she was the key to the family business righting itself again, so he should perhaps encourage her ambition. I'll speak to Anselpar later. If you require anything, you can contact him directly. Okay, Olivia smiled and nodded. Please remember to inform him, though. I will. You have my word, Michael confirmed with a smile. In that case, I'll return to my room, Olivia said with a smile. Tomorrow's Friday, and if you persist for one more day, it'll be the weekend. Dad, please don't work overtime on Saturday. Have a good rest at home. All right, Michael replied. He had been extremely weary lately, both physically and emotionally. I'll take my leave then. Olivia waved and exited Michael's study. When she returned to her room, she discovered that the bathroom sink had overflowed, flooding the bathroom and even spilling into the bedroom. Oh my! Olivia was taken aback when she saw the water streaming out of the bathroom. She immediately turned off the tap and retrieved her damaged phone. As she inspected the phone, Olivia noticed the black screen and even the blisters along the phone's edge. She wondered if this catastrophe occurred because she had placed the phone near the sink's edge while washing her hands and accidentally left the tap on. Could it be? She didn't recall being so absent-minded. Shaking her head, Olivia called for the maids to clean up the mess. She then pondered ways to salvage her phone, which seemed beyond repair. She wasn't certain about the extent of the damage, but she knew her phone contained valuable information. First, she removed the phone's SIM card and stored it safely. Afterward, Olivia retrieved the nearly dry phone and placed it by the window to let it air out. Once the maids had finished cleaning up, Olivia expressed her gratitude and told them to go rest for the night. Before going to bed herself, she decided to check if there were any phone repair hacks she could find online. However, when she went to sign into her desktop, she came across a recording from the computer. Whenever an unknown user tried to access her computer, the software secretly filmed a video of the user. It was one of the features Chris had put on himself. So it was you, Olivia whispered, narrowing her eyes slightly as she looked at Monica's face on the recording. Monica seemed determined to provoke her until Olivia crushed her once and for all. Why did she have to provoke Liv when she didn't have to? Couldn't she find a place to go and have a stroke? Olivia set her phone aside, no longer in the mood for anything else. I should really get another phone, she mumbled. Just as she was about to turn off her computer and go to sleep, Olivia received a video initiative from Chris's computer. After the call was connected, Chris asked, "Why didn't you pick up my phone call? I called you so many times." "My phone was ruined when it fell in the sink," Olivia replied with a shrug, looking at Chris in the video. "Have you lost weight?" "A little," Chris smiled. "You care about me?" "You think too much." Olivia rolled her eyes. "It's pretty late. Where have you been?" "Oh, you do care about me." Chris smiled. "Look, I can't tell you over the phone, but let's talk in person. I'm okay for now, and you appear to be too, so why don't I come over?" "It's late and I have school tomorrow. If it can wait, can you come to me at the mansion after school tomorrow?" "Okay, I'll be busy all day tomorrow and might be a little late," Chris replied. "All right, it's okay." Olivia waved her hand. "Then I will go to sleep. Good night." "Good night." Chris bid her farewell before ending the video call. He returned to his work and opened a document contemplating. How long until this company collapses? Give me 5 more days, Sven replied with a hand gesture. He focused on the screen and asked, Chris, what did Olivia want from you? She didn't say yet. I'll find out from her tomorrow. Chris replied while quickly typing on the computer. Oh, right, Sven remembered. Olivia mentioned something today. It seems one of my distant cousins, Bjorn, is at Marshall High School these days. Who? Chris paused. Bjorn? Yes, it should be him. Sven nodded. It seems like Franco Alva isn't the only one who can't sit still in Europe. Some people associated with the Jones family can't sit still either, apparently. Then we have to act faster, Chris said with a slight frown. How many companies are there still? There are 9 companies on the list. 3 of them have been shut down by us. There are 6 more companies, Sven reported. But Franco Alva's claws are really far-reaching. He has even infiltrated into different industries. They must be eliminated as soon as possible, Chris said with determination. He had wasted time before, and now needed to catch up with Franco Alva quickly. Otherwise, my family and Franco's might notice us. Too many people want me dead, and I can't afford to die. I need to strengthen my power and return to London. No problem, Sven assured him. Remember to do it cleanly, Chris reminded him. Don't worry about me, Sven responded, refocusing on his work. Vera, who wore a high-end face mask like she was at the spa, entered the room with a glass of red wine. It's already so late. Are you guys going to stay up late again? Yes, Chris answered. If he doesn't stay up late and get all his work done, Chris won't have time to meet his little crush tomorrow. Sven chimed in with a mocking tone. I really envy young people like you, Vera said as she removed her facial mask. At my age, even if I stay up late, I'll worry about whether I'll have an edema the next day. Then you still want to drink red wine? Sven teased her. A glass of red wine before sleeping is to nourish one's appearance, okay? Vera retorted, rolling her eyes. How boring. You only know how to work at such a young age. Vera, Chris called her attention. Help me buy a phone tomorrow. Olivia's phone got water damaged. Hey, I really have a hard life, Vera teased again. My phone has been broken a few times, and I've never seen you care about it. Blood relatives are not as good as crushes, I guess. Chris glanced at her but didn't bother to reply. All right, you guys get back to work, Vera said gracefully as she stood up. She was dressed in red silk pajamas that accentuated her perfect figure and fair skin. After buying the phone tomorrow, I'll directly give it to Sven. Then tomorrow afternoon, I'm flying to Rome. Chris looked up nervously. What? Why? What happened in Rome? Chris frowned slightly. There appears to be a small mistake in Rome. I'll go and resolve it. Vera shrugged. You guys don't have to worry. I've been overseeing Rome. Be careful, Chris reminded her. Don't worry, Vera replied. Her brows took on a charming expression as she teased. Both you and Olivia should also pay attention to safety. Chris refused to engage with her further and continued working. Vera smiled and exited their study room to return to her own. She took a deep breath and stood on her bedroom balcony, holding the red wine glass. She gazed at the distant night scene, appreciating the beauty of this city, so different from Rome. These past years have been a whirlwind of business and stress for her, leaving little room for personal matters or memories. Tonight was a rare moment when she had the opportunity to enjoy the night sky outside. As she did, she thought back to a distant memory of one of her past times in Rome. Hey you, I'm talking to you, come here! An intoxicated Vera leaned against a large tree by the street. One of her classmates had tricked her into drinking excessively at the club, and now she was yelling at a passing boy. Me? The boy passing by wore a white shirt and glasses, his expression blank. Yes, are you a good person? Vera tilted her head and observed him. Probably, the boy said, tilting his head and contemplating. In that case, take me home. Vera waved at the boy. The boy hesitated. He had just finished his part-time tutoring job and needed to return to school for research projects. "Take me home." All right. Seeing Vera's unsteady state, the boy took 2 steps forward to support her and carried her on his back. "Where's your home?" My home is here." Vera leaned against the boy's back as if she were lying on her bed, peacefully asleep. "I'm home." Hello, don't sleep. What's your name? Wake up." The boy frowned and shouted. "You're rude," Vera slurred. "Before you ask someone's name, you should tell them your name first." "I'm Adam Reed," the boy said all those years ago. "What's your name? Where do you live?" the boy asked. Vera stretched out her hand and pointed at the back of Adam's head. "Shut up, I want to sleep." After being slapped, Adam had a strong urge to throw Vera down. "Adam?" Vera murmured as she fell asleep again. She was about to lose consciousness. A good name." "Hello, don't sleep. Where should I take you?" The boy's voice was getting further and further away until it disappeared. "Where on earth is your home?" Vera let out a long breath, and her eyes narrowed as this nice boy tried to make sure she got home safely without anything happening to her. This memory had happened so long ago, and she had almost forgotten about it. Finishing the red wine cup in one gulp now, Vera closed the door of the balcony and turned back to the room. Her eyes were filled with determination. She knew that her elder sister's death was not an accident, and the examination of her family was not a coincidence. Her life could only be avenged. She would bring her sister's only son and live a good life. Her sister's revenge, her family's revenge. She would take revenge, that was all. Everything else was just a burden. She didn't need it. The next morning, Vera went to pick up the latest mobile phone for Olivia. Whether it was the appearance or the function, Vera was very satisfied. When she passed by a cosmetics counter, Vera looked at the red lipstick on the counter and smiled. "This one. I want it." "Okay." The salesperson took a brand new packaging of the lipstick and passed it to Vera. "Thank you so much." Vera put the lipstick in the bag containing the phone. This lip color was very suitable for Olivia. After leaving the mall, she went to the parking lot and handed the bag to Sven. Vera then said, "Take me directly to the airport." "So early?" Sven looked at the time. "Why don't we go and have lunch first?" "Your treat?" Vera looked at him with amusement. "It's my honor." It was rare for him to become serious, and he even gave her a gentleman's bow. "Jesus." Vera reached out and poked Sven's head. "You actually want to tease me. You are courting death." Sven shrugged his shoulders. Vera sat in the front passenger seat and put the sunglasses on her face. "Drive." "Yes, ma'am." Sven sighed and started the car. "Is this too fast for your delicate sensibilities?" Vera rolled her eyes at him through the sunglasses. "Hurry up and drive." "Okay," Sven sighed. He was still hiding his true feelings for Vera. When would Vera be able to feel how much he liked her? At Marshall High, Olivia finished her morning lessons in a daze. "What's the matter?" Millie held her arm and asked. "This whole morning, you seem to be thinking about something." "My phone is ruined," Olivia said. "There are a lot of things stored in the phone. I don't know how it's going to be." "Why don't you just connect the phone to the computer and copy everything over? I think sometimes when the phone is damaged, it can still be saved in time," Millie said. "But even if it is, it's still a useless phone, I guess. I will come with you to buy a new one tomorrow if you want." "Okay," Olivia nodded. "Tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning, I will pick you up." "Sure," Millie nodded. "Wait, what is that?" Olivia gazed at Millie's neck and asked, "You have an injury on your neck?" "Oh, it's nothing." Millie immediately covered it with her hand and adjusted her loose hair, saying, "I accidentally scratched myself." "Oh." Olivia nodded and didn't press further. Who had scratched their neck to the point of drawing blood? It was clearly a result of scratching, but since Millie didn't want to explain, Olivia didn't insist. During lunch a few hours later, Olivia noticed several small scars on Millie's arm beneath her sleeves. She frowned, growing concerned. Could Millie be facing abuse at home? This troubling thought crossed Olivia's mind, but it didn't seem to match their principal, Millie's dad's demeanor. Who could be responsible then? "Liv, what's on your mind?" Francis interrupted Olivia's thoughts. I'm not thinking about anything. Is there something wrong?" Olivia inquired, looking at Francis. "That new girl, Lena, has been trying to get your attention." Steve pointed to Lena, waving her hand not far away. I didn't hear her." Olivia pushed her plate aside. "I'm done eating. You all continue. I'll see what she wants." "All right," the others replied. Olivia stood up and walked over to Lena. "What's going on? Did you want to talk to me?" Lena crossed her arms and said, "The food in your school's cafeteria is just god-awful. Let's talk outside." Olivia scowled. She didn't think that their school's cafeteria was that bad. Despite this, Lena insisted she had something important to discuss with Olivia, and insisted they go off campus for lunch to talk. So Olivia brought Lena to the smoked barbecue place across the street. This place still suited Lena's appetite perfectly. She polished off 2 plates of chicken in a row. "So, you wanted me to take you somewhere else to eat?" Olivia observed Lena devouring her food and inquired. "I was considering whether or not to share a secret with you," Lena said, spitting out a chicken bone. "A secret? What kind of secret?" "I'm still deciding," Lena said mysteriously. "Since it's a secret, I can't just easily spill the beans, can I?" "Then take your time," Olivia said, not in a rush. When someone wanted to tell you something, there was no need to push. The person originally intended to share it. Acting impatient might imply you had the upper hand, or it might prompt a deliberate show of mystery. It was better to act as if you didn't care. "You're almost done with your rice. Want another bowl?" "Yes." Lena nodded and turned to their server. "Sir, please bring us another serving of your specialty, the smoked chicken bowl." After ordering, Lena looked at Olivia. "I might as well get another serving to go for later." "As long as it makes you happy," Olivia said, checking the time. "You enjoy your meal. I'll head back to school." "No," Lena called out to Olivia quickly. "You have to stay with me." "Why should I stay with you?" Olivia expressed her confusion. "Because I have a secret," Lena stated. "What secret?" Olivia's mind raced as she listened to Lena's so-called secret. She then smirked and said, "Did you happen to overhear the conversation between the student council president and Amber or something?" "Huh?" Lena was taken aback. "How did you know?" "Because I just read your thoughts," Olivia said. That was the real reason she had agreed to accompany Lena here. There were no distractions, so she could read her thoughts freely and glean her intentions. Olivia shrugged. "Let me guess, you heard them discuss that if my company wouldn't work with the school, they were hoping that the added pressure could cause us to close up shop and dissolve the company?" A sly glint passed through Olivia's eyes. This was something else she had already figured out. "You knew?" Lena narrowed her eyes slightly. "So what's your plan?" "What can I do?" Olivia smiled. "As they say, don't go against the powers that be. We're just ordinary students at Marshall High." "That's it?" Lena looked visibly disappointed. "What were you expecting?" Olivia gazed at Lena. "How would I know? I'm asking you." Lena's big round eyes blinked with curiosity. "I can't tell you my plan." Olivia smiled mysteriously. "It's a secret." Lena was stunned. Wasn't that her line? "Tell me." "Since it's a secret, how can I tell you so easily?" Olivia repeated Lena's words. Lena was a little unhappy. "Your behavior is very suspect." "Really?" Olivia smiled. "If you are angry, just leave." "No." Lena refused to go. "The specialty smoked chicken that I just ordered isn't ready yet." "Fine, I'll go. Great talk." Olivia smiled, leaving Lena behind. After angrily paying her bill, Lena walked back to school. Along the way, she was fuming with anger. Lena could not help but get close to Olivia and ask mysteriously, "Oh, come on, why don't you just tell me the truth?" Why should I tell you? You're not a member of our company. Do you understand how businesses work? We don't just disclose our inner operations to whoever asks about them. Olivia replied with her chin raised. Why would I tell business secrets to a stranger? What business secrets are you telling me? Lena sized Olivia up and down, and then looked at Millie, who was smiling subtly beside Olivia, and asked, Do you know what Olivia's doing with her little gaming company next? What do I know? Millie said. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. She's asking about the future of our game company, Olivia informed her. Oh, that, of course I know. Millie nodded. Liv had a meeting with us earlier. Lena's chubby face wrinkled into the shape of a crumpled bun. Then tell me. Olivia smiled and said, If you join my company, I will tell you. Dream on, I don't want to. After making a big face, Lena turned around and left. Ah, Millie laughed as she put her arm on Olivia's shoulder and said, Liv, this Lena seems very difficult to deal with. Are you really sure of her? I don't know, I kind of like her. I have a premonition that she will definitely be able to help me someday. Olivia nodded affirmatively. I just don't know how, Liv thought. Then I say go for it. I'll work on being more optimistic about her. Millie nodded her head. Millie? Olivia looked down and saw the bruise under Millie's collar, frowning slightly. I will not ask about what you do not want to tell me. But if you really need any help, you will tell me, right? Millie immediately used her hand to cover and nodded. Yeah, of course, thank you. There were some things that she could only face by herself. She was already used to getting beaten up. It's fine, Millie said. Okay, if you say so. Other than this, Olivia did not know what else she could say. On her way home after school, Olivia was still thinking about Millie's matter. Millie seemed to be very optimistic. She was passionate and smart and kept a low profile. Who could be so ruthless to her? Miss Johnson, we are home. Morris Bratt looked at Olivia from the rearview mirror. Okay. Olivia nodded and got out of the car. Miss, your tutor Vera called and said that she has something to do during this period of time, so your tutoring lessons are suspended. When the maid saw Olivia enter the house, she went forward to inform her. I believe she's out of town. Oh, okay, Olivia answered and walked into the room. After entering the room, Olivia put down her school bag and turned on the computer. She connected the mobile phone that was in the water with the computer. Phew, it still allows me to transfer data even if the screen seems broken. With the connection sign on, Olivia took a long breath and dragged everything in the phone into the newly built folder on her computer's desktop. At this time, a window notification popped up. Audio selections saved. She hesitated for a moment. Olivia clicked Save and Open. She also wanted to check if the audio was damaged. She had audio files that showed Rachel and Bruno had once had an affair, and Olivia could not let this evidence be lost. Olivia had just started opening the files when a maid knocked on the door and informed her that Chris was waiting for her downstairs. Chris, he's here already? Olivia pondered for a moment, and finally he showed up. She stood up and went downstairs. As soon as she descended the staircase, she saw Chris standing in the living room, dressed casually. The setting sun's light stemmed in through the window, illuminating him. He was still as handsome as ever, but she could sense that he had lost weight and looked more tired. It was evident he had been working hard. Olivia! Chris gazed at Olivia and smiled. Hey! Olivia looked around, not wanting anyone to eavesdrop. Come on, let's talk outside. Olivia walked past him and stepped out the front door. Chris followed her. Rachel, positioned on the second floor, gripped the handrail of the stairs with her hand. A look of disgust briefly flashed across her eyes. Stupid Olivia. Once outside the Johnson family mansion, Olivia turned to Chris. How are you? Pretty good, Chris nodded. And you? Not bad. Olivia nodded and got straight to the point. You've been taking action against Confluence Technology. Yes, Chris nodded. Are you interested in them for some reason? I'm interested in that company, yeah. Olivia gestured with her hands and replied, Recently I've been considering acquiring a company with financial difficulties that has potential. Confluence Technology is indeed a very promising company in terms of capability, Chris responded. But the owner of this company is untrustworthy. Franco Alva? Olivia smiled. So, are we planning to consolidate his power and eliminate opposition? It was true that if Chris intended to expand his family's business empire further into New York, he needed to do away with some opposition and corruption that was standing in his way. After all, no one would want unstable elements around them. But will it cause issues with Alva? Yes, Chris nodded, then smiled with confidence. But currently, Franco Alva is preoccupied with matters concerning the 7 families. He can't handle both his own problems and me. The 7 major families? Olivia frowned. Previously, Sven had mentioned something about the affairs of the 7 prominent families. Now Chris was also bringing up what was happening with the 7 major families. She was clearly out of the loop. She almost yearned for a time when the only thing on her mind was figuring out how to take down Rachel and Monica and the Cooper sisters. You have yourself to thank for this. Chris ruffled Olivia's hair and said, the emergence of the Park family out of hiding not only startled the 7 major families, but also my family and the Jorgensens and our other associates. Otherwise, why do you think Bjorn would show up in New York? Is he monitoring me? Olivia squinted her eyes. Not just him, Chris replied. More people will come to New York because of you in the near future. Huh, Olivia chuckled. This is the first time I've realized I'm such a big deal. I've always seen you as a big deal. Chris smiled affectionately and said, wait for me. He turned and walked towards the sapphire blue sports car, retrieving a bag from Sven's hands. He then turned back to Olivia. I had Vera get a new phone for you. See if you like it. Wow, Olivia smiled. Is there a need to be so considerate? She paused for a moment and thought of the computer. Could it be that you installed some random software on it? Chris turned his head with a hint of guilt and cleared his throat. Let's continue discussing Confluence Technology and Franco Alva. Chris, Olivia said as she narrowed her eyes slightly. You have a knack for changing the subject, don't you? Who? Me? Chris turned his head away, feigning innocence. Olivia lowered her head slightly and fixed her gaze on Chris, unable to discern his thoughts. For some reason, she couldn't see what was going on in his mind. Was it because her heart was racing so much when she was around him suddenly? This was new. Hey. Chris seemed a bit uneasy under Olivia's scrutinizing gaze. I'm doing all this for your safety. He gestured to the phone. I've installed hack-proof software onto it. Hearing this, Olivia sighed in resignation. Fine, I'll take it, thank you. If this software made her more formidable as she went after her own enemies, she would take it. Seeing Olivia accept the phone, Chris's face softened with affection. He placed one hand on Olivia's waist and drew her into an embrace. He whispered in her ear, Take care of yourself when I'm not around. All right. Olivia gently pushed Chris away, looking a bit awkward. You are my fiancé, should I not hug you? Chris said. There are still 4 more years in our deal to get closer. Olivia reminded him. Just like to take my time, she teased. Listen. Chris held Olivia's chin and looked directly into her eyes. Not just 4 years. Even if it's 40 years, you'll still be my fiancé. A 40-year-long engagement? That seems a bit excessive. Olivia calculated roughly. By then, she'd be 57 years old. A 57-year-old fiancé. It felt a bit much. Chris shook his head and laughed. Yeah. Chris. Olivia reached out and touched Chris's forehead. Have you been eating irregularly? Experiencing drastic temperature changes? What are you trying to do? He evaded Olivia's touch. He did have an irregular diet, though. I suspect you're unwell. Why else would you be talking such nonsense? Olivia said. Very funny. Chris was frustrated that his confession had been taunted by this girl. He hugged Olivia's waist and kissed her. Their lips met, and both were momentarily taken aback. It wasn't easy for Olivia to push Chris away this time. Just as she was about to scold him, she saw a sly smile curling up at the corners of Chris's mouth. "Have you caught my nonsense bug?" he asked. Olivia's words got stuck in her throat. She truly marveled at Chris. His thought process was completely different from that of ordinary people. "I like you," Chris finally spoke. "Really, it's not just about the agreement." Olivia was unsure what to say. She hadn't expected this. But before she could respond, Chris turned and headed back to his car. "Goodbye." After his confession, Chris's face reddened. He waved casually and got into the car. Sven was already laughing in the car, tears streaming down his face when Chris got into the passenger seat beside him. "What are you laughing at?" Chris scolded him. "Hurry up and drive." "Heh." Sven started the car, glancing at Chris. "I like you. It has nothing to do with the agreement." He never would have expected Chris acting like an elementary school student, telling a girl how much he had a crush on her. Chris's face grew even redder. He reached out and lightly smacked the back of Sven's head. "Laugh again." Sven looked innocent. Why did he hit him on the head with both hands? As Olivia watched the car drive away, she snapped out of her shock. Chris had just confessed to her? Was that even considered a confession, or was it just a joke? Olivia felt a bit bewildered. Plus, she hadn't even asked about Confluence technology. With this in mind, Olivia shook her head and turned around. She spotted Monica standing not far off, with her school bag on her back. It seemed like she'd been there for quite some time, witnessing what had transpired. Despicable. Monica ground her teeth, forcing the words out. She shoved Olivia's shoulder and marched towards her family's mansion. Olivia's shamelessness knew no bounds. Openly getting close to Chris Jones right in front of her house? Who was she trying to impress? Bitch. Olivia coldly snorted. Isn't breaking tradition better than gossiping and trespassing? She could read Monica's thoughts and decided to refute her right here and now. What do you mean? Monica halted, turning to face Olivia. Monica, I warned you not to enter my room. Now you've trespassed and even broken my phone. How do you plan to make amends? Olivia lifted her chin. Make amends? Do you have proof I broke your phone? Don't accuse people without evidence. Monica retorted, locking eyes with Olivia. She distinctly recalled no one passing by at the time. You think you were discreet? Olivia coldly snorted. Either you step up to make amends, or I have my ways to have Aunt Rachel make up for it on your behalf. And it won't just be for the phone, she threatened. Monica glared at Olivia. Stop acting high and mighty. Consider it me putting on airs, then. Olivia replied with a smirk as she strode past Monica. She made sure to forcefully bump into her shoulder. You witch! Pushed back a couple of steps, Monica's expression darkened. Olivia, you just wait. Oh, I'll be waiting, Olivia said without turning back, entering the house and heading upstairs. As she opened the door to her room, she overheard Rachel and Bruno's conversation playing from the computer. It seemed the audio was intact. If she had lost it when Monica broke her phone, she wondered if she'd ever get another chance to gather such evidence. Inside her room, Olivia immediately noted the state of it. Who was in here this time playing her audio files? Rachel? She frowned and hurried to her study. Their mother-daughter pair had no boundaries. Did they think her room was a public space open for anyone? Olivia was taken aback when she saw the figure in front of the computer. Dad, why did you... She never expected to find Michael standing there, eyes red, his fist clenched and his lips trembling. You already knew? Olivia heard his question and took a deep breath, nodding. Yes. You deliberately kept it from me? Michael felt a suffocating pain in his chest. His wife had betrayed him with his own brother. His son wasn't even his own flesh and blood. The oppressive feeling of despair made it hard to breathe. What would you have had me say? Surprisingly composed, Olivia couldn't express what needed to be said. What could she say? Michael opened his mouth but shook his head. He walked away with leaden steps, leaving Olivia's room one deliberate step at a time. "Dad!" Olivia grabbed Michael's arm. "Don't act rashly." Michael looked at her deeply and shook her off. Act rashly, how could he not? Descending the stairs, he entered the dining room and stood at the table. Rachel was seated, and Monica held her hand, both of them laughing. The scene was particularly grating. "Rachel, it's dinner time," called out Michael, waving her over. "Yes, Dad." "The dinner spread tonight is quite lavish," admitted Monica, her recent clash with Olivia weighing on her. She couldn't shake the worry that Olivia might actually have evidence. If Michael were to find out that she'd secretly entered Olivia's bedroom again and even damaged her phone, it would sting. It was wiser to be compliant. Michael regarded Rachel coldly, taking measured steps closer. Were these truly his wife and daughter? He grew increasingly uncertain. "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" Rachel's heart skipped a beat at the sight of Michael's gaze. His expression was so peculiar it stirred a sense of panic. "Rachel," Michael's voice held a simmering anger, "is there something you're keeping from me?" What? Rachel was momentarily stunned. Then she cast a swift glance at Olivia, who had come down behind Michael. What had this woman been discussing with Michael now? Rachel stared at Olivia with thinly veiled wariness, before switching to the guise of a dutiful wife. "Sweetheart, is something the matter? Are you tired because you've been working so much? What could I possibly be hiding from you? Even if I were, it might just be a few extra pieces of jewelry. Do you have to be so upset with me?" With that, Rachel even playfully rolled her eyes at Michael. "Dad, take a seat. Mommy has nothing to hide from you," Monica implored, glancing at Olivia. This woman had absolutely no moral compass, tattling like this. She had no shame. It was just a broken phone. Was it worth all this fuss? "Right," Rachel chimed in with a light smile. She then turned to the servant beside her and said, "Why hasn't Grandpa Jack come down yet? Hurry and send someone to invite him." "Yes, madam," the maid responded promptly, turning to ascend the stairs to fetch Grandpa Jack. The dining room settled into a tense quiet. Michael gazed icily at Rachel and Monica. Rachel wore a smile, but inside, her heart raced in response to Michael's penetrating stare. Meanwhile, Monica surreptitiously glanced between Olivia and Michael. Having suffered at Olivia's hands before, she now dreaded the whip of Michael's stern expression. She urged, "Father, come join us for the meal." "Yes, sweetheart," Rachel added, rising to grab her utensils. "I'll help your dad with the dishes. You also need to freshen up." "Who is Edward's biological father?" Michael's voice suddenly cut through. Though not loud, every word hung heavily in the air. Rachel's fork and knife clattered against the table. It was as though a bucket of cold water had been dumped over her head. Shocked, Rachel's expression turned painfully unnatural. He knew. This realization sent shivers down Rachel's spine. When she regained her composure, she fought to suppress her guilt and said, "Sweetheart, why do you ask? Edward is our son." Michael noticed Rachel's panic and his heart sank. Initially, he'd only been suspicious. Now that suspicion had crystallized into a damning truth. Michael's heart turned to ice. He shook his head, looking at Rachel with disappointment in his eyes. He spoke deliberately. "It's not us. It's you." Rachel's knees buckled and she nearly collapsed. "Dad, what are you saying?" Monica stared at Michael in confusion. "I don't understand." "Rachel, you've deceived me for so long," Michael sneered. 17 years, no, 18 years. Shouldn't you tell me what happened 18 years ago? Michael had intended to discuss the game company with Olivia today. He had an old friend who was an expert in this field, and he planned to introduce the two. However, as he cheerfully pushed open the door to Olivia's room, she was nowhere to be found. Instead, he overheard a recording. He now wondered if everything had been a lie. 18 years ago, when he'd been given a document to sign. Was that genuine or forged? If Liv's mom, Victoria, hadn't laid eyes on that document, she might not have left her home, and she might not have harbored resentment toward him for so many years. Without that document, he might not have mustered the courage to seek her out due to guilt, nor would he have forsaken all of Grandpa Jack's arrangements. Did Victoria really serve me with divorce papers 18 years ago and ask me to sign them without even speaking to me, after refusing to speak to me? Or was that document forged? Michael's voice quivered. When Victoria departed from the Johnson mansion, she'd left behind only a signed divorce agreement and a document Michael felt he had to personally endorse in the study. Now he wanted to know, was the paperwork that led to the Park and Johnson family's severing ties and the Park family's subsequent bankruptcy even authentic? Was it really that document that brought ruin upon the Park family and prompted its patriarch to leave his hometown? Or had he simply been led to believe Victoria left him and convinced him to sign the papers so he too could move on? What? Olivia thought. She knew her parents were engaged, but she never realized they had married. Reading her father's thoughts now, she saw they had eloped, though perhaps Grandpa Jack wasn't excited because they failed to have a big society celebration. Olivia's heart started racing. Why did Mom leave Dad then? And why ask for a divorce? Why keep this from me? What else don't I know? Were the divorce papers from Victoria real or forged? Michael repeated. Did you trick me and possibly even Victoria into signing those? Rachel bit her lower lip, unable to respond. She couldn't bring herself to say it. To do so would mean losing Michael for good. She simply couldn't utter the truth. That document is genuine, Grandpa Jack interjected, entering the dining room and approaching slowly. He explained, I personally asked you to sign it. Why? Michael stared at Grandpa Jack. He knew he was the unwitting pawn in the Park family's downfall, but he had no inkling he was also a pawn in his biological father's scheme. For the Johnson family, Grandpa Jack declared with a grave countenance. If the Park family continues to thrive, it will eventually overpower the Johnson family. This was merely a preemptive move. Michael's fist clenched. Why did you want me to sign it? If Grandpa Jack insisted on it, then everything became clear. He had never doubted his father, but why did Grandpa Jack need him to sign the documents that related to the Park family's business ties? Grandpa Jack's signature held far more weight than his authority. Because without your signature, my mother wouldn't have left, and you wouldn't have let her go, Olivia interjected. She had pieced together the events of 18 years ago, so that was the truth. Somehow, someone had driven a wedge between Liv's mother and father and convinced Michael that Victoria was leaving him and never wanted to see him again, forging her signature when they delivered him divorce papers supposedly signed by Victoria. Then, showing him these, Grandpa Jack had Michael sign the papers, and when he was still hurt and angry, had Michael sign documents that dissolved the joint business ventures the Parks and Johnsons had embarked on together, severing all ties with the Parks. After that, Grandpa Jack, or someone else, had delivered these signed business documents and divorce papers to Victoria, after taking off her forged name, and then told her that Michael was leaving her, cutting off all ties with her family and that he never wanted to see or speak to her again. She was so hurt, clearly, that she left and took the unborn baby in her belly with her, vowing never to let Olivia meet those evil Johnsons. The 7 major families, you 7 major families, you all conspired to do this to the Park family. You did this without my dad's knowledge and tricked him. A flash of ruthlessness flashed across Olivia's eyes. The tragedy she and her mother endured was the result of the 7 major families. But why? The Park family was on the brink of being eradicated by the 7 major families before I stepped in anyway. They'd been making bad financial decisions that were impacting the other families' business interests. Why would the Johnson family want to retain a daughter-in-law from the Park family? If we did, we could have been a target too. A steely resolve shone in Grandpa Jack's eyes. He had no choice but to do this for the sake of the Johnson family. The business world was a battleground, and he couldn't afford to be sentimental. Michael felt the world spinning around him. He had lost the person he loved most due to cutthroat economics. You've always been hesitant and overly empathetic since you were young, Michael. So we knew we had to trick you into doing this. Grandpa Jack frowned. How did you expect to accomplish great things like this? Because you are so smart. You are the CEO of the Johnson family. But everything you do must be for the Johnson family. The Johnson family, the Johnson family. Michael fixed Grandpa Jack with fiery red eyes, asking with a resounding voice, Always for the Johnson family. Is that truly what I'm doing? What else? Grandpa Jack stood tall, facing him head on. This is a legacy handed down by our ancestors for hundreds of years. I will not allow it to crumble under your watch. Is that so? Michael sneered. Was he the CEO of the Johnson family? He was merely the head of the headquarters in New York City. He was merely the CEO of the soon-to-be empty shell in New York City. Grandpa Jack met Michael's sneer and felt a bit feeble. What do you want? What do I intend to do? Michael chuckled. What can I do? He'd never held the authority of the Johnson family. He was merely a president. For the past few decades, he lived like a puppet, all for the sake of the Johnson family. And what had that achieved? His father and younger brother were gradually depleting the family's businesses, eroding the so-called centuries-old foundation. And what about him? He lived without a sense of self. He'd never harbored his own aspirations. As Olivia had once said, he'd never truly lived for himself. What separates a man without dreams from a fish? His life was even worse than a fish's. At the very least, a fish didn't know how bad its lot was. Wasn't his life ultimately futile? A wasted existence? Olivia grew fearful, reading her father's mind. Sweetheart, that's all in the past, Rachel said, her eyes red as she looked at Michael. Can't we just lead a good life? It's been 18 years, regardless of what your father did. In that time, I think I've stepped in and given my all for this family, don't you? Even a rock could feel my warmth and my dedication. I want a divorce, Michael stated, his gaze coldly fixed on Rachel, his voice steady. No! Rachel's sudden scream cut through the air. Sweetheart, no, I love you, truly, I do. I can't imagine life without you. This was Rachel's greatest fear. She couldn't imagine life without Michael. She'd sacrificed so much for him. She couldn't bear to lose him. The one you can't afford to lose is Bruno, not me, Michael replied, his tone tinged with self-derision. You can't afford to lose the position of matriarch in the Johnson family, not me. No, it's not like that. Rachel's heart ached. Sweetheart, how could you think of me that way? I truly love you. Even if I strayed before, it was also because of your distance, because I felt so alone. Isn't this a common mistake between us? We're husband and wife. How can we divorce over this? How can my love be questioned over this? Dad, what's wrong with you? You must have misunderstood something. Monica hurried forward and pointed at Olivia, questioning Michael. Did she say something to you? You can't trust her. Olivia glanced coldly at Monica. Blame her? Blame her for what? Why didn't she mention how she assisted Rachel? Dad, how can you think of divorcing Mommy? Monica reached out to grab Michael. Michael frowned and swiftly dodged. Edward wasn't his son. Was Monica even his daughter? He didn't know. Monica was shocked by her father's evasion. Why was he avoiding her? Nonsense. Even if Bruno and Rachel were once unmarried, that was over a decade ago. Grandpa Jack frowned. How could his son contemplate such an absurd idea? Absolutely not. Why don't you ask her yourself? Ask Bruno yourself. Michael suggested, looking at Grandpa Jack, his emotions swirling. Should he be relieved? He was grateful he wasn't the only one in this family kept in the dark. What is he talking about? Rachel, speak! Grandpa Jack pointed his trembling finger at Rachel. You said it yourself. Sir, Rachel looked down at Grandpa Jack's question and stuttered. Grandpa Jack understood when he saw this. He feared that his son was genuinely confused about what had transpired with his daughter-in-law. A wave of anger surged through him. Foolish, utterly confused, this unloyal son. I want a divorce, Michael declared coldly. He'd had his fill of this kind of life. No, Jack shouted. Though Bruno was infuriated, he was still a pampered child of Grandpa Jack. How could he bear to witness his second son, who had a promising future, be ruined of a momentary lapse in judgment? Grandpa Jack gazed at Michael and spoke with a stern expression. If word gets out, it will impact the progress of the Wind Project and the Johnson family. Their European branch was in a crucial phase, and they could not afford to be marred by a scandal involving his uncle and wife. Otherwise, all their efforts would be in vain. Michael was stunned by Grandpa Jack's words. Did Grandpa Jack still consider Bruno's future even now? Michael, I'll naturally deal with your brother for doing something so disgraceful, Grandpa Jack said, looking at Michael. But regardless, you'll have to endure it. This marriage can't be dissolved. We need to maintain a united front for publicity reasons. Appearances matter. Michael felt as though his heart were being pierced by needles. Grandpa Jack's words were like a sledgehammer pounding on his brain, causing it to throb. Finally, Michael snapped out of his shock. He truly awakened. In Grandpa Jack's heart, he had never surpassed Bruno, not for a single day, minute, or second. Even in the midst of such a situation, Grandpa Jack's first thought was still, don't let it affect Bruno. Michael, you're the CEO of the stateside company. You have to see the bigger picture. Grandpa Jack slammed the table, emphasizing his point. For the Johnson family? As the president of the Johnson family? Michael mocked his father's words, then gazed up at the sky and laughed bitterly. Then he locked eyes with Grandpa Jack and enunciated each word. I will not continue as the CEO of Johnson's Food. With that, Michael strode out of the mansion. Unloyal son! Grandpa Jack slammed the table, his face contorted with rage. Rachel sat in her chair, her face paled. Michael wanted a divorce. How could he? How could he do this? Dad! Dad! Monica watched Michael walk away, her eyes welling with tears as she stared at Olivia. Olivia, are you happy now? Am I happy? Olivia looked at Monica. Did you mean, are you happy? Monica, if you hadn't dunked my phone in water, would any of this have happened? Her entire plan had been thrown into disarray, and there were many considerations to be made. What was there to be happy about? Stop spouting nonsense! Monica refused to believe that throwing Olivia's phone in the water would lead to all of this. Didn't you want money? Must you distort the truth in front of my father? Distort the truth? Olivia sneered, her gaze shifting to the ashen-faced Rachel. Why don't you ask your mother whether it's me who's distorting the truth, or if her scheme has been exposed? What nonsense are you talking about? Monica couldn't fathom that her mother would do something that would betray her father. Rachel loved Michael to the point of obsession. How could she betray him? At that moment, Rachel, who had been slumped in her chair, suddenly remembered something. She shot up and grabbed Grandpa Jack's sleeve, pleading urgently. Jack, call Michael back. Can you call him back? He listens to you the most, Dad. Shut the hell up, you idiot. Grandpa Jack stared at her angrily. If you did not do such a shameful thing, would Michael have a reason to leave? You still have the nerve to beg me for things. I'm warning you, if you dare to cause Bruno any trouble, don't blame me for being ruthless. You useless little gold digger. After saying this, Grandpa Jack stood up and strode towards the stairs. When he passed by Olivia, Grandpa Jack glared at her. He brushed past her. Mommy? Monica saw Rachel getting beaten up and quickly ran over. Mommy, how are you? Rachel silently shook her head. How could it be like this? She lifted her head and stared at Olivia. It must be Olivia who caused this, she thought. Rachel gritted her teeth and said word by word, "Olivia, I really should have killed you from the beginning." "Do you regret it now?" Olivia faced Rachel's gaze and sneered. "It's too late." Olivia knew that even if she explained that her own daughter started all of this in motion, Rachel wouldn't believe it. But that didn't matter. She didn't care. It had been a while since she had tasted revenge, and God, it was better than she remembered. Now that her appetite had been whetted, she couldn't wait for more. Turning on her heel, Olivia strode towards the stairs. She needed to revise her original plan promptly and shift everything towards a new strategy. The first thing Olivia did upon returning to her room was to retrieve the old phone Chris had given her. She inserted a new SIM card he'd also given her and dialed her mom Victoria's number. "Hello," Victoria said. "Hello, Mom." "What's wrong, Liv?" Victoria was at the market buying vegetables, and the surroundings were a bit noisy. She handed money to the vendor and whispered, "Thank you." "Mom, please come home quickly," Olivia urged. "What happened?" Victoria was a little puzzled. "What's going on?" "My dad and Grandpa had a big argument," Olivia explained. "It's the first time I've seen my father so angry. He stormed out of the house and I have no idea where he went. I suspect he might be looking for you." Silence followed on the other end of the line. Holding the phone, Victoria furrowed her brow slightly. "I see." "You should head home," Olivia advised. "All right," Victoria replied and hung up the phone. As soon as Victoria returned home and placed her groceries in the fridge, a knock sounded at the door. Upon opening it, Victoria found Michael standing outside. His head was slightly lowered, his shoulders slumped. He looked dispirited, his eyes red and brimming with weariness. Seeing Victoria, Michael attempted to speak, but he didn't know where to begin. Carefully assessing Michael, Victoria turned around and said, "Come in." Michael nodded and entered the room. He stared down at the floor. He didn't know why he was here. All he knew was that his mind was in turmoil. When he came to his senses, he was already at Victoria's door. "Vicky." Michael looked at Victoria's back. He had so much he wanted to say to her, but he didn't know how to start. "Yes, is everything all right?" Victoria poured a glass of water for Michael and asked, "Are you hungry? Have you eaten yet?" Silence hung heavy in the room. Michael felt like 1,000 words were lodged in his throat. When he tried to speak, his body threatened to dissolve into sobs. Olivia's plan had been foiled by Michael's early discovery. Frowning, she felt cold sweat forming in her palm. What steps should she take now? Pacing around the bedroom, Olivia received a message from Victoria. "Your father is with me. Don't worry." Reading this message, Olivia finally managed to calm down and took a deep breath. She encouraged herself. Stay calm. Think through each step. With this mindset, Olivia immediately dialed Ansel Parr's number. "Hello, Ansel?" "Yes, my lady?" Ansel Parr answered while having dinner. "What's the matter? What can I do for you?" "Ansel, did my dad inform you about my request for funds?" Olivia inquired. "He mentioned it," Ansel responded. Ansel Parr replied and asked, "How much does Miss want to transfer?" "All of it," Olivia stated firmly. "Ansel, I want to transfer all the funds." With a clatter, Ansel Parr's utensils fell onto his plate. "In fact, if I were to urgently transfer all the liquid assets currently under my father's name, what are the chances of that being executed right away?" Urgency flashed in Olivia's eyes. Once Michael left, Grandpa Jack and Bruno were bound to make significant moves. Time was running out. "Miss, your dad instructed me to assist you, but he didn't mention such a large sum. I still need to consult with him about this," Ansel Parr stated. "No need," Olivia replied, glancing at the phone Michael had left on her desk. "My dad has left. The phone is with me." Ansel Parr fell silent. He couldn't fathom Olivia's intentions or what she was planning. Ansel, I need the money urgently. Just tell me the maximum amount I can transfer. Olivia pressed. Please hurry, preferably right away. What exactly is going on? Ansel furrowed his brows. He had never heard Olivia sound so urgent before. Olivia paused for a moment and switched to a different approach. She asked, Ansel, can I trust you? I can't say for certain if you can trust me, but I am the person you trust the most, and I will never let you down, Ansel Parr stated firmly. All right, Olivia said. You're aware of the company's accounting discrepancies, correct? I am, Ansel Parr affirmed. You also know who is responsible, correct? Olivia inquired. There was a pause before Ansel Parr responded. I do know, yes. In that case, if I were to tell you that the company's losses are just the initial step, what would you do? What would you think? Olivia asked. I would expedite the transfer of the funds under your father's name as soon as possible, Ansel Parr replied, understanding why Olivia had been pressing Michael for money. In that case, Ansel, I hope you can work with me, Olivia implored. The most I can currently transfer is $25 million. If I exceed this amount, you will need to personally go to the bank to sign, Ansel Parr informed. Then transfer that amount first. I'll ask my dad to visit the bank on Monday. Get ready to receive him, and remember, this matter must be kept secret, Olivia instructed. Yes, Miss Johnson, Ansel Parr responded, his tone filled with admiration. Thank you for your help. Olivia expressed her gratitude. After ending the call, she went to her desk, opened her notebook, and scribbled down a few notes, connecting them with arrows. Closing the book, Olivia's eyes gleamed with determination. It was time to advance her plan. With this in mind, Olivia dialed Chris's number once again. Hello? Chris answered, surprised to receive Olivia's call. He wondered why she was contacting him. Considering his earlier confession, his emotions were mixed. Chris? Olivia said with intensity in her eyes. I'm interested in acquiring Confluence technology. How much funding should I prepare? When? Chris inquired, noting that Olivia seemed to be discussing business matters seriously. At the latest, by next Friday, Olivia responded, emphasizing the urgency. All right, Chris agreed, sensing that something significant was happening. What's going on? He asked, concerned. A lot of things it's hard to explain, Olivia admitted, her thoughts racing. There was so much to share, yet she wasn't sure where to start or how much to reveal. Understood, Chris replied. Following that, Olivia hung up. She turned to her computer, opened a web page, and began browsing. Her cursor stopped on a username and she narrowed her eyes, murmuring, Fat Rabbit. Lena. On the social media platform QQ, Olivia located Frances and messaged, Are you there? Yes. Why didn't you just text or call me? I got a new phone. This new one doesn't have the iCloud set up, so I don't have your number anymore. So I'm messaging you on the computer first. Olivia explained, finding it ironic. She could remember 3 phone numbers, Victoria's, her own, and Chris's. Her fingers paused, then continued to type on the keyboard. Let me ask you something. Who is Fat Rabbit? Fat Rabbit? They're currently the top-ranked player in the gaming world. A plump gamer who always wears a mask. Frances responded. A plump gamer? Olivia pondered. Lena liked to eat, but did that qualify her as a plump gamer? I heard it's a guy, but I'm not sure. Frances added. Nowadays, even the gender of an online character is a mystery, let alone a virtual presence in the gaming world. That's true. Can you contact Lena, the new girl at our school? Olivia requested. Lena? I think I can find her number in the student directory online. Give me a moment, Frances said. After a brief pause, he typed a string of numbers and sent them. Here it is. He sent her Lena's digits. Thank you, Olivia responded. Frances sent his number once more and offered a waving emoji. Olivia wrote down Frances's number and proceeded to dial Lena's on her new phone. After a short wait, the call connected. A youthful voice, tinged with impatience, answered, Yeah, who is it? I'm in the middle of a fight in the game I'm playing. If it's not urgent, you'll have to wait. Lena, it's me, Olivia Johnson. Olivia identified herself, hearing the distinctive game sounds in the background. Do you have time to meet tomorrow? Sorry, no. There's a time-sensitive mission tomorrow in one of my multiplayer role-playing games. If it's not urgent, we'll talk later. Lena replied, clearly immersed in her game. I'd like to invite you to join my company, Olivia proposed. She had initially planned to spend more time with Lena, but due to Michael's unexpected discovery, all her plans had to be accelerated. Time was of the essence. Cooperation, as you pointed out, hinges on mutual benefits, statuses, and the like. You haven't presented me with any compelling reasons to join your team, Lena said, her brow furrowing. If I didn't have the incentives you were looking for then, pray to tell, why did Fat Rabbit have such an interest in me to begin with? Olivia's eyes gleamed as she probed. Lena fell silent for a moment on her end. How did you know my gamer screen name is Fat Rabbit? Nobody knows the identity of Fat Rabbit. There's like a whole bunch of people on Reddit who spend way too much time trying to find out. It's not important how I know, Olivia replied, a hint of triumph in her eyes. She had guessed correctly. What matters is that we are indeed negotiating on equal terms. Even so, I'm not inclined to join your team. I'm simply curious about you. Wouldn't it be beneficial to have a close-up view and the chance to observe me then? Olivia's tone turned alluring. Besides, I'm not asking you to commit to anything binding. There are no contracts and no restrictions on your freedom. If you don't like it, you can leave at any time. Lena scoffed and grabbed a bag of potato chips. As she opened it, she began to munch on chips. That does sound somewhat tempting. I'll give you 5 days to think it over. Provide me with your answer by next Wednesday, Olivia stated, having set her bait. She didn't rush to reel in the fish. She hung up once she said her piece. Hello? Hello? Lena heard the beeping on the other end and cursed, Damn it! After tossing the phone aside, Lena continued to devour her chips while staring at the computer screen. After a moment, it hit her. Wait a minute. Isn't her company going to be disbanded soon? Why would she want me to join? No matter how hard she tried, Lena couldn't wrap her head around it. She'd already polished off an entire bag of chips. Sucking her fingers, she tossed the empty bag behind her. Oh well, I don't care anymore. Let's finish this round. With that, she resumed playing the game she'd paused. After swiftly winning the game, Lena mused, The games are too easy lately. The plots are all lacking and the sound effects bore me. They've got cool graphics, but it's not groundbreaking or interesting. She tossed the controller aside and sprawled out. Lately, the games were getting tiresome. Recalling Olivia's invitation, Lena muttered, Well, if I'm not happy, I can leave any time. Why not give it a shot? Despite thinking this, Lena still couldn't help but feel that Olivia's approach was rather brusque. Hanging up on her was quite impolite. Lena suddenly sat up. She knew she needed Olivia too, so maybe she should go through with this meeting. We'll talk on Wednesday. Lena nodded firmly at this resolution, but no guarantees. Lena rubbed her soft belly. I'm hungry. As expected. I can't think when I'm hungry. Every time I start thinking, my stomach growls. She picked up her phone and opened the delivery app, muttering, How about some pizza? It's late, but fish tacos sound good too. Lena swallowed hard and closed her phone. Delivery would take too long. I guess it's instant noodles for me. After ending the call with Lena, Olivia contacted Millie on QQ and mentioned that she was skipping the phone shopping. Millie quickly guessed that it was because Chris had probably already bought her a new phone as a gift and teased her a bit. I won't bother you further, Olivia jokingly said. I'm off to do my homework. Homework, seriously? Do you know how to do homework, or are you really going to be texting that BF of yours? Homework, Liv replied. I swear on my life. Millie sent a disgusted emoji, accompanied by tisk, tisk, tisk. Observing Olivia's reply with an aggrieved expression, Millie shook her head, finding Olivia rather amusing. Why are you grinning so much? The boy leaning against the door behind her shot a disdainful look at Millie. What are you doing here? Millie eyed the boy with caution, revulsion, and fear. What am I doing here? If you kept your mouth shut, I wouldn't have had to come. Millie looked away nervously. Not again, she thought. Please don't torment me again.